In.
There we go.
We are live. I'm on 6, and Patrick's going to be on 7.
Right, I'm in.
I think Jay just hopped off, so Patrick's hopping on now. All right, let's put out some social media stuff here. Oh, look, there we go. So that's how it shows up. I didn't even. All right. We still got time. Dave, do we start? We starting again right at 4 o'clock? Oh, 30-ish. How about liners? Did you send me some liners for today? I try. You are that's not a dig at me. I am very bad at that. Okay. Yeah. Did not buy the second car. Okay. Probably did. You need a boat. It's going to be pricey. Yeah. I understand. All right.
The what? Sounds expensive. Oh, I'm looking at pictures of it. I just Googled it. What year?
2000. Yeah, 2008. Oh, already got some people on the live stream. People are joining in. Josh and Trey. Look at us. We're building it one person at a time.
Okay. Let's rock.
I got nothing to open with. I have absolutely nothing. I have no clue what word I'm going to discuss. Like I don't even know what's going on right now in the world. All right,
well, just
I'm going to ad-lib. I'm going to totally ad-lib everything. This will be great. It's going to be great.
I saw a mock draft we can talk about in a little bit.
Oh, it's fantastic, a mock draft.
It's actually relevant to us.
Well, I did see that. You're talking about Ingbare, yeah. All right, here we go. Yes, it is game time. Friday afternoon. Actually, game time is in about 3 hours away. South Carolina, Mississippi State this afternoon. Big baseball series for the Gamecocks. We'll talk about that today. Mississippi State coming to town. I'll try not to mess up any names. Good news, though. I got backup. Along with Captain Dave, I've got Patrick Perret joining me this afternoon. We'll get you through the next 3 hours here. Talk about some Gamecock baseball. We'll talk about a interesting NFL mock draft that Patrick has already seen that has a Gamecock going in the first round. We'll get his hot take on that. Oh, more?
Yeah. There's other interesting stuff on there. SEC stuff that's interesting on there. I do think we're probably the least I don't know. 2 of the least qualified people to do a 3-hour breakdown of the South Carolina Mississippi State baseball series.
It is well, and yesterday I was looking at one thing and reading and trying to talk. It's live radio.
When's the last time you did a 3-hour show by yourself?
It's been a while. It has been. It was a while. But we did it yesterday, and I said Taylor Farr was pitching on Sunday, and somebody on the text line did not appreciate or did not think I should ever do radio again. And so I will try to not mess up today. No promises on that. I'll just try, but yeah, we'll do that. Patrick will be here to hold the fort down. We got that. Yeah, we'll get into a little bit of NFL mock draft. We'll talk about Wells Fargo championship up in Charlotte taking place. I just flipped that on the television. And we'll probably throw out some college football topics to get you excited throughout the day. If you want to join us, there are multiple ways to hop in and experience what's going to be about a 2.5 hour ride today, Patrick and myself. You can do so via the text line. The Cool Care Heating and Air text line is one way to hop in and join us. John already weighing in. When will Heath be back? John, he'll be back Tuesday. So good news. You don't have to listen to the radio unless you can
turn your radio off now.
I don't know. I think John was joining me yesterday. I'm not 100% sure. Now I've got to go back and look at text messages. No, John was not. We have a million.
We haven't heard from John in over a month and a half, almost a month and a half. So he just all business, doesn't like us. Once he's come back, needed
to know he wanted.
He's on hockey coach yesterday, by the way.
Did not.
Wow, that was like most of the morning show yesterday.
I know. I got some personal text messages about that. People did not seem happy with you guys. But yeah, was it Tom Wilson? That was the guy?
Well, that's the one that started all the fighting on Monday. But then there were 12 other people that got involved in fights.
Really?
Oh yeah, you didn't see it?
No, it's been a weird week for me.
You're like kind of a hockey guy.
I am, but it's been a weird week. Monday and Tuesday, I actually took vacation days. I never feel like I do that, or I definitely don't do it in consecutive days. And I took Monday and Tuesday off actually from the morning show. Wednesday, I came back, did the morning show, but then I knew I was doing the afternoon show. It completely alters my schedule. I'm a huge creature of habit. And if you throw my schedule off, like Friday, having to what I would typically be doing right now, totally different than what I am currently doing. And it throws my schedule. So I really have been kind of out of the loop on sports because the way it's all kind of played out for me is that it's been an off week. Like I feel like when you do the afternoon show and you can sleep in just a little bit, you can get in just a few extra hours of sleep. You feel, to me, it's like taking a vacation. So I feel like I've been off. So no, I've not watched hockey. To be honest with you, the only sports I've really watched have been when we're doing the show and I've got the television on over here to my left. So, no, I haven't gotten into that. I've kept up just enough. I followed just enough. Obviously, the draft last week.
Playoffs start next week.
Playoffs get going. Yeah, so no, I didn't. I avoided the hockey discussion. We did discuss yesterday the Georgia name, image, likeness bill, which is just wild. I still, and even today, Patrick, I've talked to people today who heard the show yesterday. We're all still blown away by what exactly Georgia is trying to accomplish. I even got a tweet earlier, which might have been a little over the top, but Scott weighed in and said Georgia's name, image, likeness law incorporates communist principles. Now, Scott is an attorney. To defend Scott, he is an attorney at legally_Hayes on Twitter. He says it's a terrible law and misses the whole premise of the NIL.
Premise.
So, yeah, which I agree. Did you pay attention? We'll start with this again, and we won't stay on this today because I discussed it yesterday. But very quickly, the Georgia bill on the name, image, likeness. Did you catch this? And being a former athlete yourself, in a sport that wasn't probably going to generate a lot of revenue, name, image, likeness wise, what did you think of that?
Well, I'm interested in like who thought that this was going to go over well. Like the 75%, basically redistributing their money. Like first of all, I don't know that makes any athlete more likely to want to go to Georgia. And I just some of these things you see, and I'm like, who thought this was a good idea?
Yeah,
I guess more is going to come out about it. I didn't even really hear anything about it being in the works. I didn't hear it getting passed by other people. It just kind of dropped, and it was like, oh, yeah, they passed this law yesterday.
Yeah, that was very strange. So we covered a lot of
talk about for like weeks leading up to this.
I don't think anybody saw Georgia doing this, not with the way that they worded it, with the 75% being able to take 75% of your name, image, likeness, earnings, and then redistribute it. I think that was the strange portion of that. But yeah, I got into it yesterday. Certainly, again, let me throw out all the ways you can join us real quick, and we'll continue on down this path. If you want to weigh in on that, we did get some phone calls yesterday. The name, image, likeness bill that was passed in Georgia. We don't know what the state of South Carolina is going to do. So I have no clue. I know some people asked yesterday, but if you want to join us, you got the Cool Care Heating and Air text line, 803-404-6100. That's how you can join us that way. The Love Chevy phone line, the same number, 404-6100, 803-404-6100. You can always hit us up on Twitter. He's at _Patrick Perret is the way to be able to do that. You can also hit me up on Twitter at Will1L WIL Gunter GUNTR. And today we continue to try and push successfully, unsuccessfully, the live stream on you. And you can join us. You can go to 1075 The Game's YouTube page and click on that. You can subscribe. We ask you to subscribe. Josh and Trey have already weighed in on the live stream. You can do so as well. If you want to join in, you can watch via Facebook. You can watch via YouTube. You can watch via, what's the other one, Patrick? Twitter, I guess? Is that
Twitter/Periscope. I guess Twitter acquired Periscope.
Okay. So, yeah, and Lee weighs in. Lee says, what's up, guys? So you can join us that way as well. So a lot of ways if you want to interact with us today, not just the normal method of phone calls that you have to do or the text line. And again, that Cool Care Heating and Air text line, Love Chevy phone line, 803-404-6100. Well, let's do this. Again, we're professionally chaotic. We're professionally sloppy. There is a baseball series, and you're right, Patrick. You and I, we are baseball fans. We follow South Carolina, but I'm not able to start getting in and breaking down Mississippi State. That's not my forte. But let's talk about the importance of the series, because this is locally the big story for the weekend. There's other things going on. Obviously, NASCAR's down in Darlington. The Wells Fargo, again, is going on up in Charlotte. There's, as you pointed out, some college football stuff we want to get into. But the college baseball series this weekend, the importance of it. I said yesterday, I don't see South Carolina now. As they stand now, I don't see South Carolina hosting a regional. I think they'll be sent somewhere else. Maybe you can alter that, Patrick, by winning 2 of 3 this weekend. They'll announce 20 host sites next week. They'll pare it down to 16 in the coming weeks. But in terms of the importance of the series for South Carolina and the rest of the regular season, Kentucky next, Tennessee to wrap up the season, where do you put this? And what is it a must-win series for the Gamecocks, just in terms of any postseason thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I guess you can kind of say there's a lot of season left because there are still 3 SEC series left. But I think where it stands right now, you're probably right. Problem is you've lost 5 of your last 6 SEC games. So is it a must-win series? I don't know. You definitely can't get swept. You need to win at least one. But Mississippi State is number 4 in the country. I believe that's the last time I checked. But it's also at home. So, I mean, you really do kind of need to win the series. You got Kentucky next weekend, and they're not very good. But then ending the season with a really good Tennessee team, I don't know. 2 out of 3, I really do feel like you kind of have to do it at this point, just for, I don't know, momentum's sake. Losing 5 of your last 6 SEC games, you really kind of need to turn around. You need the bats to get going tonight. You need a Friday night win would just be tremendous for the program, honestly. I think more than anything, you can win a game 1 and get a little momentum behind you going into the rest of the weekend. That would be just fantastic.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, Gamecocks and Bulldogs.
Here.
Well, Thomas Farr is going to start Sunday. You got Brandon Jordan throwing tonight, Will Sanders tomorrow. They'll change up the rotation.
I asked him about this the other day too. What do you read into the change of the starters?
To me, it's just throwing. It's just trying to change something. And I like this by Mark Kingston. Whatever it is, we agree there's bad juju, right? There's just whatever it is on Friday nights, it's not working.
And it's not his fault either.
Yeah, I don't necessarily blame Thomas Farr. I think this is just one of those things. In baseball is one of those sports that sometimes just making some kind of weird move, making a change. Yeah, I'm all for it. I don't think it's Thomas Farr's fault. I don't think Brandon Jordan's going to go out there and necessarily be the difference maker that, I don't know if you're really changing things up on a Friday night, but maybe it's a different mindset. Maybe just putting somebody else out there. Baseball's one of those weird sports. You talk about, what was it? Was it Swanson I feel like it was a couple weeks ago, it might have been last week, that used the sage on the bat or whatever he did. Like baseball's such a, don't wash, if you're on a hitting streak, don't wash your socks for 3 weeks. If guys who wear the same baseball cap every time they pitch, I don't think there's a sport, Patrick, you tell me if I'm wrong, that is more superstitious than baseball as a whole, right? I mean,
well, I think it's also because it's so long of a season. You're playing so many games. You get in routine. So yeah, agreed.
So I think that's like one thing right there that just change the routine a little bit. Maybe throw somebody else out there. Maybe he injects a little bit of energy. Maybe something happens. I don't read a ton into it, to be honest with you. I think it's just something different. And quite frankly, when you're 1-5 in your last 6 SEC games, I have no problem with different.
Yeah, we were going back and forth on it because it's not like he's pitched bad. He's pitched well, and just the nights he's pitched well, he's gotten no run support. And I just don't know why that's been the case on Fridays. I think game 1 last weekend, they got 2 hits. It was like a solo home run and 1 hit. And it's just, it's hard to win that way in the SEC. So I was thinking, do you want to just put Thomas Farr on a Sunday when the bats seem to come alive and for whatever reason, and just get him a little confidence and get a win? But at the same time, it's not like he had been pitching bad at all. I don't think as a competitor, he's like, I can't get it done on Friday night. I need to switch up. Like, I don't really know, but to get some confidence and potentially get a win and just change the juju up on Friday night, I don't think it's a bad idea at all.
So big series this weekend it is a big series. And look, I think it was Adam who hit us up on the live stream yesterday and said, do you worry about South Carolina's postseason chances if where they stand? Well, right now you don't. But Patrick, you got 2 top 5 teams in front of you, top 10 teams, Tennessee and Mississippi State. Obviously, you've got Kentucky as well, a midweek game at Clemson to go along with all that. So you've got some games left, and this team, I said this yesterday, I think a lot of people agree with it. They're at a point this year where they are what they are, and what they are is a team that's wildly inconsistent hitting the baseball. They're not a great hitting team, especially against top line pitchers in the SEC. Yeah, you might strike gold for an inning or 2 and put up some runs, but the bottom line is this team doesn't hit the ball particularly well. And so with all that being said, I don't think that's changing. The pitching is not the reason for some of the losses, but the hitting you can place a lot of blame on. Going into this weekend, you feel good about where South Carolina stands when it comes to NCAA tournament play. But you get swept, you lose the next 2 series, it puts you in a bit of a precarious situation. I think South Carolina needs to finish the season strong. And if you're as good as we thought you were, where about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, going into the Arkansas series, you were on the cusp. You were right there fringe, working your way into a super regional position. Well, if you're as good as we think you were then, yeah, you've probably got to take 2 of the next 3 series. You agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but I'm with you on we know what South Carolina is, and that's why as a fan, you almost come to grips with, hey, if we show up on any day and hit a bunch of home runs, which we're capable of doing, you win that game. Like, it's a very home run reliant team, and that just kind of means like you hope you get hot at the right time. So at a certain point, I don't care. Like, I would love to host a regional because I want to see games played in Columbia, and I do think they're comfortable in their park, but it's just we're almost just going through the motions now, and this is what happens to me with baseball. Like, I figure out what the team is, and it's like, all right, well, let's get to the end of the season and hope that we're hot at the right time, because that's really what it is. Like, Wes Clark hit his first home run, and I don't know how long on Tuesday. I don't know if you saw when the last one is, but it was a pretty solid little slump there. If he can do what he did at the beginning of the season and start lighting it up, if Eister can light it up, like the real big bats and just hit home runs at the right time, like, this team's certainly capable of beating anyone in the country. So you just kind of cross your fingers and hope that they're hot at the right time. And I don't know if that has to start right now. If you have to take 2 of 3, if you have to win this series and then just keep it rolling and win every series for the rest of the year, if that's what it takes to stay hot and keep it rolling into the playoffs, I don't know. But, I mean, I agree. We know what they are, and we know what they're capable of, but they disappear for too long with stretches.
803-404-6100, Cool Care Heating and Air text line, or Love Chevy phone lines. Brandon hits us up. He says on FAR he does have a 4.5 ERA in the SEC, and based on the Friday night starters in our league we face, that's honestly probably a bit much. If you want to weigh in, you're more than welcome. We'll continue some baseball discussion throughout the day. You're certainly not we're not going to ignore you if you want to discuss this weekend series against Mississippi State. It's a big one. Mississippi State comes in number 4. The Gamecocks really need to win this series. It's at home, Founders Park. You've got some increased capacity given that that's what happened against Arkansas. So 7 o'clock, we'll start coverage for you right here, 6:45 on 107.5 The Game. So Patrick and I will go to roughly about 6:35, 6:40 today. So a little bit of a shortened show on a Friday afternoon. We'll continue with that. We'll talk a little bit about a NFL mock draft is out. There's a Gamecock in the first round. We'll talk about that, get Patrick's take on that mock draft. We'll talk a little college football as well as we roll on. You're listening to Game Time on 107.5 The Game.
Take this switch off.
Lee, we need to get in that. We'll bring that up one segment. Saban's comments on Jimbo. I agree with that. And then, I don't know, Logan Paul or Floyd Mayweather. That's a good question you ask for something that I'm not sure how invested I am in. I got to decide whether I'd purchase that or not.
No way. Don't purchase that.
How much is it? What is the? Any idea? I don't know. I never look at that stuff. What? $69, $70? Is it going to be $100?
No, it's not going to be $100. I think it's going to be like $30 or $50.
If it's $30, I'll purchase it. I'll get it. What is it? It's June 6th, I believe.
I don't even know. It's going to be a fake fight.
You're probably right.
His brother's actually boxing like real people and actually boxing, but Floyd's just going to dance around him.
Yeah. Floyd doesn't really fight anybody, so I do agree with you on that. He kind of hides and uses speed, punches. And then Logan, I don't know much about Logan Paul, to be honest.
He's not as serious as his brother.
Who's his brother?
Jake Paul.
Okay.
This is not the same one this is not the same brother that knocked out Nate Robinson and the UFC guy.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. Well, then.
This is actually the more famous brother.
Are you talking about which mock draft are you talking about? Are you talking about the Bleacher Report or what are you looking at?
PFF. Don't look at it yet.
Huh?
Don't look at it.
No, I was going to point out. Is it? I'm not. Is it the Bleacher Report one?
No, it's Pro Football Focus.
Okay, I'm just going to pull it up just to give the. I haven't seen this one, so you'll have to. I'll let you kind of.
Well, it's not the Enagbare one that's interesting about it. We'll mention Enagbare, but I'll pose the question to you.
Where do you see this at? I don't even have a. I see all their 2021 mock drafts.
It was posted today.
Pro Football Focus on Twitter.
Yeah, if you just look PFF_Mike.
Mike Renner.
Mike Renner. You're gonna see the one that I wanted to actually question you about.
I'm just gonna have it. I have an idea of what you want to question, but we'll talk about this.
You're gonna know. It was in the tweet that you probably clicked on the link through.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you just completely killed all of.
No. We'll do it because I just lead with it. No. Lead with it. Because otherwise, I'd have been talking about a totally different mock draft than you'd have been. We would have really screwed.
Yeah, but that would have been better because there would have been suspense.
Let's see here. I was going to try and pull up just to. All right. Let's go back in. $4:22 on a Friday afternoon. If you're getting off of work, congratulations. If you've got just a little bit longer until you get off work, well, hang in there. Patrick Perret, Bill Gunter filling in for Heath Cline. If you're wondering, as who is that? Who is that on the text line that started us, Patrick? I got to go back and look here. As John was one of the 6 million Johns who text in, who wanted to know when Heath will be back. You can set your listening accordingly. Heath will be back on Tuesday. Until then, it's Patrick and I. Captain Dave is back. We might try and slip in an episode of Stump the Dave today. That might be worth it in the 6 o'clock hour. Dave has not been tested lately. Off air, he was looking at purchasing a. Well, how do I put this nicely, Dave? You were. Is it a midlife crisis car? Is it just you just need to spend some money? What do we call what your plan was? Okay. Well, there you go. Dave is like me, living just the single life, living the single life, just talking about purchasing 2 cars so that when he walks out in the morning, he's got to make a decision. That's what we all need in our life, more decisions. So Captain Dave with us, Patrick Perret, Bill Gunter. If you want to weigh in on any topic we get to today, we'll get to several more here in just a minute. 803-404-6100. Again, come join us on the live stream. Why don't you? You can join us via YouTube. You can go to the YouTube page, go to youtube.com, search for 1075 The Game, and you can click watch. We ask that you subscribe. You go to the Facebook page, 1075 The Game. So we got all kinds of ways for you to interact. If you want to call in, you can certainly do that as well. Captain Dave will talk to you, and you can join Patrick Perret and I. Real quick update here. Wells Fargo Championship taking place up in Charlotte. Matt Wallace is tied. There's a group of them: Matt Wallace, Gary Woodland, Patrick Rogers, Scott Stallings. Thankfully, all names that I can pronounce. They're all in the lead. They're all at 6 under right now. Roy McIlroy shot what did he shoot? He shot 5 under today, 66. He's 4 under. Patrick, I know you don't pay a ton of attention to golf. First time in 2 months, Roy McIlroy will play on the weekend. This is a guy that is one of my favorite golfers. It's fun to watch and has struggled so much. He finally will play on the weekend there as he posts a 5 under 66 today. He's 4 under for the tournament.
Has he been playing every week since the Masters? I thought that I was wondering if he was going to just take time off because he'd been playing so poorly. Has he played every week?
Sure. I'm not sure if he hasn't. He hasn't made a cut. And yeah, that can be a little deceiving in golf. You know, when you say 2 months, maybe that's only 3 tournaments. But yeah. McIlroy's infringing on Ricky Fowler territory right now, where Fowler's just been in a massive slump. We talked about that when we realized during the week of the Masters that Fowler wasn't even in the Masters. Fowler's been in a massive slump. And as I scroll down my list, my leaderboard here, I don't see him at 1 under or at even par. Maybe I'll arrive at Ricky Fowler's name at some point here. DeChambeau.
Yeah, Ricky Fowler is 4 over at 89, tied for 89.
Yeah, DeChambeau is missing the cut. He's at 2 over the cut for the Wells Fargo, projected at +1 right now. And yeah, Fowler also at +4. Gives you an idea, man. These guys, some of these guys are really
heard of one of the players that's tied for first.
Gary Woodland.
Actually, the only players in the top 7 that I've heard of are Rory McIlroy and Gary Woodland.
Attaboy. Good job. Yeah. Well, right behind them, Phil Mickelson was the story yesterday. He went out and fired a beautiful 64, got to 7 under, was in the lead. He follows that up with what has now become a Phil Mickelson round, a 75 today. He is shot 4 over. He is now 3 under. Bubba Watson also there with a 2 under 69 today. He's 3 under as well.
What is the deal with Phil? He plays senior tour as well. Does he just randomly play events? He just plays whatever he wants to?
I think so. Yeah, essentially. I think that's kind of that's what you can do. I think he wants to continue to be competitive, so to speak, in the on that particular level, which is no, I'm not being funny. Phil does the Facebook videos, and I think he's developing a very solid kind of like post-golf career that won't be reliant on the senior tour. But I think, he brags about hitting the bombs and the size of his calves and his health regimen, what he's doing right now. So I think Phil believes that he can go out and play against the younger players, and just quite frankly, it hasn't worked. If we're being dead honest about it, it just hasn't. He's not performed well this year. The courses have eaten him alive, and so we'll kind of continue to see
what money is he making. Do you think? Is there a way to see how much money he's made this year? Because you'd think he would make over at least $1 million a year if he just became like an analyst. Like, is that what you think he'll do? CBS, or he'll be in there with Faldo and Nance and all them, just doing something for those events, or it'll be like social media driven or something like that, or a podcast? I don't even know.
I see Phil Mickelson transitioning much. It won't be on the same scale, mind you, because football is so much bigger than golf, and Peyton Manning is a different character. But I could see him finding some kind of niche similar to what Peyton Manning has done. Now I'm looking very quickly.
So it's like if you're saying Manning versus Romo, like Manning kind of does little things where everyone makes videos and everyone's. Romo's actually out there calling the game.
Yeah, I see Mickelson becoming more of, and you think about this, because we can get into this topic for a minute, and then I want to transition maybe in the next segment to this NFL draft that you brought up on Pro Football Focus, and several interesting things there, just looking ahead to the 2022 mock draft. But you think about athletes in time that have transitioned into broadcasting in some form or fashion, and there's more opportunities. You would agree with me on this. There's more opportunities today because of different pregame shows and what all we get from pregame shows. Like the perfect example to me, and I'm going to use Randy Moss. I don't know if I was a huge Randy Moss fan as a player, but Randy Moss doing he started on Fox, I believe. Is that right? He was on the Fox.
Right. I think he's with ESPN now, isn't he?
He's with ESPN now, but Randy was not initially with them.
Yeah.
I'm a huge Randy Moss fan. I think he's one of the best out there when it comes to breaking down a game and kind of talking about things. I think he's really, really good. He's one of the guys. I'll give you an example. I don't tune into College Game Day to listen to Lee Corso. I'm not like a bunch of people who hate Lee Corso. Like, I think Lee Corso has a role on College Game Day. The day that he is either forced to retire or moves on, I'm going to hate it, because that show, Lee Corso has a massive role on that show. Now, that doesn't mean that on Saturday mornings during college football season, I'm like, oh, really wonder what Lee Corso thinks about South Carolina versus whomever today. Lee Corso's analysis of a football game is irrelevant, but I think he's got a role, and I think he's a neat part of it. Randy Moss is on the flip side of that. If Randy Moss speaks about the game, about a position, or about something, I listen, and I take that. And there are people that I listen to that way. Peyton Manning is another guy. He doesn't do what I would call the serious broadcasting. He does Peyton's Places on ESPN Plus. He kind of cuts up the stuff that he's done on Saturday Night Live in the past is interesting. I really like Peyton Manning, and I can see Phil Mickelson trying to find a role in that form with, say, an ESPN or a Golf Channel or somebody.
Peyton does do, actually, the one serious thing he does. He does all these things for ESPN Plus, and they have it's called Detail, where they take like one athlete. I don't know who does it for basketball now, but Kobe Bryant had done it for a while, and Peyton Manning does it as well, where they'll like break down like a certain play, or like, because there was one controversial thing or something where Peyton said that Tom Brady didn't mean to throw it who he threw it to one time, but it's like those in-depth, like a long, like 30-minute long form, like film breakdown thing. Yeah, so that's where Peyton kind of flexes his football knowledge, but it's like a subscription-based thing. You have to buy ESPN Plus, and not many people have watched it.
We'll throw this out there: 803-404-6100. When it comes to analysis, and I don't care what sport, golf, soccer, football, baseball, basketball, you get the point. When it comes to analysis, because I'll ask you this, and Charles Barkley's always in the news. Mm-hmm. Like, do you listen to Charles Barkley for analysis, or do you listen to him because he's funny and he's honest and he's opinionated and he says things that sometimes make your eyes go wide, or he says things, but like, do you listen to?
And you want to hear him argue with Shaq? That's what you want.
Yeah. Like and so I ask this 803-404-6100. Who are one of two guys, 2 or 3 guys, we'll say 2 or 3, that you listen to strictly for it? Like Tony Romo's phenomenal, right? You mentioned him. Mm-hmm. Tony Romo's great. I will watch a football game and I'm listening intently to Tony Romo to break down a game. Do you have 2 or 3 people that you listen to intently listen to and break down a game?
I'm trying to think, but I mean, we did. Steve-O has me thinking now because he said Joe Rogan, which is actually interesting because I'm actually more inclined when it's a sport I don't watch very often or like that I didn't play and I'm not as aware of, then I actually appreciate that more. And if you watch UFC, Rogan actually does a really good job of explaining it to like kind of the average person who doesn't know the details of fighting. So that makes me think about like there are some hockey guys that are really good, and like Doc Emmerich was the greatest broadcaster of all time, and he retired this year. But there definitely are some hockey broadcasters that do a really good job. And I don't know, I think golf, I don't know how much that happens in golf. Like they'll talk about it, but I think it's just Nance's like soothing voice and Faldo's British accent that like just relaxes you when you're watching golf. I don't think I get any sort of in-depth analysis that makes me learn a ton about golf.
Faldo, Nick Faldo. I get what you're saying. Nick Faldo is really good. I like Nick Faldo. I guess I'm kind of
almost like history lessons more than anything during golf tournaments.
I like Faldo. I'll put him up there with Romo. I'm trying to think of a basketball analyst. As strange as I don't really care for him, but Jeff Van Gundy is actually somebody who I can kind of listen to and enjoy. Mark Jackson was that guy back in the day. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I wonder exactly who people listen to and enjoy when it comes to analysis. Neil weighs in on the text line and says John McEnroe in tennis. And I got to admit, Neil, I haven't listened to John McEnroe. I don't watch a lot of tennis. I might wake up and watch the Wimbledon championships. And
that's what people probably see. They probably see John McEnroe on Wimbledon one Sunday every year.
Yeah, and so, but I wonder. Jeff on the Cool Care Heating and Air text line weighs in and says Jay Billis. Yeah, Jay's good. I've actually read his book, so I guess I view Jay Billis a little bit differently. But that's just guys that you listen to. We'll continue this. Patrick's got some mock draft stuff. Pro Football Focus, very well renowned, very highly thought of. Mike Renner has got a mock draft out.
To tease it, I would say think right now in your head. There's one SEC quarterback that he has going in the first round. While we break, think about who you expect that quarterback to be. Who is the most draftable quarterback in the Southeastern Conference going into next season?
It's a good question. Who do you got? 803-404-6100. It's game time on 107.5 The Game. Bill Gunter, Patrick Perret. We'll be right back.
Is there anything else going on in sports right now?
No, there ain't a whole lot.
There really isn't.
We're hitting that time of the year. Let me use the restroom real quick. I ran home. I was trying to get a million things. Hey, if I start sending you weird hand signals, I've got a package coming from FedEx. It was supposed to be here at noon, and now it's 4:30.
So you have to sign for it?
And I have to sign for it. I have to physically sign for it. So if I start like telling you, I'm going to run to the front door to get this thing taken care of because I can't let it get back to the FedEx delivery place. But I can't. They were supposed to be here earlier, and I kind of need this. So yeah, I'll use the bathroom. I'll be right back.
Oh, yeah, Lee, we did also say we were going to get to this. This is what happens when Bill and I host together. We just jump around and can't stick on subject. Ooh.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's happened here with FedEx, but definitely been a weird.
Think they lost it?
Well, I don't know. It says it arrived
at the FedEx facility.
No, it said it was out for shipment. Like I got one of those text messages.
Oh.
And it said this morning it'd be out for shipment. So then it sends you a text message telling me, when it'll be delivered or whatever. Well, it said it would be delivered by the end of day Thursday. Now, this morning it started. Let's see here.
Oh, we got to pay attention, by the way. We're not back, but I did.
Yeah. What was that? Somebody called in to say that? Oh, yeah. We'll come back to that. Yeah, I saw that. I'm trying to think. I know that name.
Come on. Is this a liner?
Genesis? No, okay, I don't.
Yeah.
Is it? Did you send me the liner?
Big though, like massive.
Or we just giving up on liners today? Yeah. I'd say whether you sent them or not, 50-50 if I'd have read one. Yeah, Patrick, I feel like we're having to push the live stream in the afternoon a little bit harder. But I will say this, 5 to 6 o'clock, more people are driving home than they are.
Right. This is for sure drive time.
Yeah. All right. Here we go. .440 on a Friday afternoon. Bill Gunter, Patrick Perret filling in for Heath Cline, Captain Dave in the studio, making sure that everything runs smoothly. Asked a question a minute ago that you could weigh in on the Cool Care Heating and Air text line. Who are announcers that you listen to that you just, for analysis, that when they tell you about a sport, you listen to? And I'll give it, because there's a difference, right? Like Vern Lundquist was never a play-by-play guy. He was color commentary, I guess, or whatever the lead guy is. But I always liked Vern Lundquist. Vern Lundquist was Saturday night or Saturday afternoon SEC football to me. I do enjoy Lee Corso on College Game Day, because I think he's a huge piece of fabric of that show. Now that doesn't mean I'm listening to Vern Lundquist for great, and I get it. Vern Lundquist was not a play-by-play guy. He didn't analyze games, but I always liked him. I like Lee Corso. I can say Dick Vitale really I've never really cared for him, but a couple of y'all have weighed in on different people that stood out to you. George weighs in, and he had a whole bunch of them. He said best analysis: golf, Brandon Chambly; college hoops, Jay Billis; Major League Baseball, John Smoltz; college baseball, Ben McDonald or Kyle Peterson; and college football, he said anybody but Gary Danielson. John Smoltz is really good. John Smoltz is. I do enjoy John Smoltz. Anonymous texter says Tommy Moody for baseball. You always learn something new about the game or former teams and players. That actually comes from Alan there. So a couple of y'all weighing in. And Noah, I think this is one of your guys, Patrick. Pat McAfee does a solid job on special teams.
Yeah, I guess so, because he's an NFL punter. But yeah, he's one of those guys that's like a high energy, like makes jokes and things like that. So he's more of a personality, I think.
Entertainer. Yeah. And I'm not being funny. People say, like, well, you do sports talk radio. I was like, no, we cut up, we laugh. I consider myself far more of an entertainer a sports talk guy. But let's talk a little sports. Let's do a little sports, huh?
Because what we're about to transition to, Mike Renner, the PFF guy. When anyone that listens in the morning knows that I'm a draft nerd, and I hate Mel Kiper because I think Mel Kiper is more of an entertainer. But this guy, Mike Renner, he's one of those guys that I respect the heck out of his opinion. He does a really good job, does a lot of works really hard, and like does full-on breakdowns. And he is the one that put out this mock draft. Every draft expert has been putting out their 2022 first-round mock draft because that's what you do the week after the draft. But some of them do have some very interesting opinions here, and that's why I asked the question: who, if you had to guess, which SEC quarterback? Because I've been saying the big three is Spencer Rattler from Oklahoma, Sam Howell from North Carolina, and Keaton Slovis from Southern Cal. But there were two others that I think have SEC ties for sure. That'd be very interesting to a lot of people. So if you had to guess, who is the SEC quarterback that has the highest draft stock right now?
I've looked because I wanted to pull it up to be able to have the discussion.
You would.
If you ask me who is the SEC quarterback who has the highest draft stock right now. Now it's going to be a weird year in the SEC for quarterbacks. Kellen Mond is gone from Texas A&M. Obviously, Mac Jones is gone. Let's see, touchdown Terry Wilson is gone from Kentucky, although he was out most of last year. Tennessee will have, who knows who Tennessee will have. And I'm going through, I know Georgia's got JT Daniels, and I'm about to come back to him. So as you break down, this is a great question just when we start talking about quarterbacks in the SEC. Kyle Trask is gone. Let's see, Bo Nix is back. I can't off the
Miles Brennan is back. I would have put him in there.
Let's go through this real quick, and then we'll get to where you're going with this, because I like what you're doing here. And let's think about this. Think about the quarterbacks in the SEC for 2022 or 2021. This coming year, 2022 draft is what we're discussing. The East, it's JT Daniels, Emory Jones. I can't remember the young man's name at Missouri off the top of my head. I know it's a funny name.
Sean Robinson, is he the one?
He's transferred in, but that's not the guy that was playing last year.
Connor Bazelak.
Bazelak, thank you.
Yeah.
You got him. He's back. He's a young kid there. And obviously it's going to be Luke Doty at South Carolina. Tennessee's trying to figure it out. Maybe it's Joe Milton. Who knows? Jared Garantano has transferred.
Yeah. So Hendon Hooker from Virginia Tech is there as well.
Hendon Hooker. So they've got a bunch of guys. And then, Kentucky has got Joey Gatewood. They've got, I forget who else. They've got a couple guys there. They were playing. Think about this for a second as we talk about the SEC schedules and what the SEC is with quarterbacks on a year that, they had some really good ones. Trask, Jones. You had, Kellen Mond, I think, was a good college quarterback. Miles Brennan was out last year. It's a good question. So we just went through the East real quick. In the West, probably Bryce Young at Alabama. Again, Harrison Beck is probably going to be the guy at Texas A&M. Miles Brennan's back at LSU. Bo Nix is back at Auburn. Felipe Franks is another guy that's gone. That was the Arkansas quarterback. Mississippi State. Mike Leach has got a bunch of guys. I'm trying to think of who he.
Matt Corral is the SEC's, I think, was the leading passer in the Southeastern Conference last year. I'm pretty sure.
So as we go, we'll hit a break here. We'll come back and we'll let Patrick give the answer. The guys that are returning, you would say, all right, well, JT Daniels is probably up there. I like your Miles Brennan because we know the SEC we know the NFL just loves prototypes, right? Doesn't always have to be based on stats. It just Miles Brennan fits that. Bo Nix is a big kid who's struggled, but is a big kid. I would say JT Daniels, 803-404-6100. 803-404-6100. I think some of you have weighed in with JT Daniels and Bo Nix. Another anonymous texter says the quarterback from Ole Miss is pretty good. Send us your text. Who do you think would be the top draft pick? Could be the first guy taken in the 2022 draft from quarterbacks in the SEC. We'll get to Patrick's actual answer. Pro Football Focus. Is it Matt Renner? Is it right?
Mike Renner, yeah.
Mike Renner. I'm sorry. Mike Renner has got his pick out. The answer might surprise you. You're listening to Game Time on 107.5 The Game. No, that turned cool.
What was sold that got Jay and Pearson talking for 3 hours?
I have no idea.
Everyone's talking about the piece of memorabilia that they would want to buy because it sounds like, from context clues, something was sold at auction.
I didn't see anything. That was not something I caught. I mean, I have looked at Twitter and a few other things, but that was not anything that I caught in the last day or two that stood out. Oh, let's see if Dave sent me the liners. Oh, yeah, there we go. Oh, we got her. I wonder who they're exactly going to grill on Monday. Maybe they should just move that to Tuesday when I come back.
Yeah. Tim will just get grilled,
I guess.
Grill Jen. Somebody would definitely want to grill Jen.
Yeah. So I got Truex Jr.?
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
I did all sorts of research. I'd be ready to give a take, and then we ended up coming back for that last segment at 53. So Tim was just like, "Hey, what's up, Gary? Who you picking?"
I can see that. That makes sense. I can. The weekend of Darlington too. The actual biggest race.
Well, it's Kansas this weekend.
No, they're in Darlington this weekend.
I thought Darlington was next weekend.
I thought Darlington was Mother's Day week. No, Kansas was last weekend.
I thought Talladega was last weekend.
I'm pretty sure it's Mother's Day. It is Mother's Day, right?
I have no idea. I don't know anything about NASCAR, so maybe you're right.
No, I'm pretty certain Mother's Day weekend is Darlington. I'm pretty certain they're down there.
Okay. Well, I did the research for the wrong race then.
May 9th. This weekend's May 9th, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, May 9th. Darlington this weekend. Oh.
So the what was it called? The Book McBushy or something like that? Is that what it was?
In I don't know that. I don't.
What am I looking at here? Yeah, NASCAR Cup Series at Kansas. Oh, that was May 2nd. The name of the race was like the Bushy McBush. Yeah, Bushy McBush Race 400.
The Bushy McBush Race. Okay, that sounds.
Yeah, that's what happened last weekend. Yikes. Just, yeah. Was the text you got that we were talking about hockey and not NASCAR?
No. You talking about whatever day it was?
Yeah. Yesterday.
No, I didn't know what y'all were saying. It just said glad Patrick knows about hockey. I'm not sure how many of us really care about it though. So I didn't know what y'all were talking about. I was just like, well, I'm not there. I don't know.
Yeah, somebody texted in and was like, "You're in the Bible Belt. All we care about is football and NASCAR. Please change subject." That was one of the texts. It's like, all right, screw you, dude. It got a lot of interaction though, so I mean, we did frame the whole thing like we know nobody cares about hockey, but when there's a 6-man brawl to start a game, like something to be discussed.
We're gonna be out of time on this, so you're gonna have to give Emory Jones.
Oh man.
Dave, how much time we gonna have coming back? All right, 15. Cool. I'll read a liner and then Patrick can You ever want a chance to just ask me random questions, try and, put me on the spot? It's called Grill Bill. You get a chance. Now is your chance. You can ask me, Bill Gunter, anything. You can sign up on the website, 1075thegame.com. We do this each and every Monday. Last week it was Grill Patrick. Patrick's with me this coming Monday. Not real sure how we're going to play this, so maybe we'll do Grill Bill on Tuesday. But one weekly winner will get to grill me. You can ask me whatever you want within reason. That's the key part there, within reason. And you win a $50 IGA gift card and importantly, be entered to win a Camp Chef pellet grill. It's brought to you by the South Carolina Pork Board and its member farmers, IGA food stores, and Camp Chef. We've been alluding to this PFF mock draft. We'll get more into it in the next hour because it is interesting. It's also interesting when you discuss quarterbacks in the SEC. Mike Renner with Pro Football Focus, Patrick, this caught your attention. He's got his first-round mock draft out, and it caught you completely off guard who the quarterback from the SEC going in the first round was. Tell us the quarterback, and did this change your opinion of Mike Renner? You got about 15 seconds.
No, it didn't change my opinion. There's always somebody that jumps out of nowhere. But at number 6 overall, he writes, this is obviously a massive projection. He's only taken 95 dropbacks, but Emory Jones is one of the best dual threats in the country and earned an 86 grade on 35 rushes last season.
We'll talk about this. Emory Jones. We'll talk about this in relation to Luke Doty and other quarterbacks in the SEC. You're listening to Game Time on 107.5 The Game. $30 seconds. Stop it there. 30 seconds. Stop it there. Got it.
What's happening in some? What do you say?
No CBS. No CBS update. So we'll be back right at about 5 o'clock.
Yeah, that it is different when you hear the music on this show. You realize you got to get out.
Yeah, I messed that up yesterday because I thought I had to. So I just kept on rolling for a good extra 40 seconds.
40-second closing bed versus a minute-long closing bed.
I just kept right on going. No problem. Just blew right through that. All right, let me do a few things. I'm waiting on this. This is crazy with this package that was supposed to be here at noon today.
I'm over the ACC network. I hate the ACC network. Just want to watch this game.
Oh, we both walked off, of course. Not a lot of interaction. The 5 of you that kept watching, thank you. Not a lot of it's a different the live stream. I can see where Heath might be a little hesitant with the live stream in the afternoon. The interaction is not quite the same.
He said nobody wants to look at my face for 3 hours. Was his rationale.
And that's understandable, but I still, but again, I do understand that it's a little bit more difficult. I will say Fridays, whew, a lot of you are getting off where nobody can really, we don't want you driving and live streaming at the same time. That would be poor.
Yeah, the good part about the morning is that people now, since we've got it rolling, people now have a part of their routine to just, hey, wake up while I'm making my coffee and eggs or whatever. I just throw it on YouTube on my TV because most people have smart TVs now. They can just pop YouTube up on their TV and then they get to work and just pop it up on the computer at work.
Yeah, and you got people that come home. I noticed 6 o'clock hour. Oh boy, it falls off quick.
In this show?
Right.
Yeah. But that's what it should be, to the point where at 6 o'clock is when the live stream gets going because everyone's back home now.
Yeah, kind of, but I mean, then you got fixed dinner. You probably got kids running around. You probably want to talk to your significant other, or you're forced to talk to your significant other. I mean,
nobody wants to do that.
I would typically agree with you,
but I guess we're coming back.
Yeah, we're back.
Shorter breaks.
Well, you don't have that CBS moment, whatever. So you're producing on Monday?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. What is this, Dave? This is some jazzy. What do we got here?
This is groovy.
By who?
I was waiting for the hard guitar and game time with Heath Cline. Our team starting now.
Well, as we're taking over, I still laugh that Heath allows us to do his show because we transform it so much. You're either in or you're out. There's no middle ground on this. You're not like, I think I kind of like those guys. Like, you're like, I really can't do this for 3 days. You're like John, who right at the opening of the show was like, all right, when is Heath back? Or people get into it. Again, it's a different kind of show. We don't pretend to be anything we're not. We're not trying to replicate what Game Time is with Heath Cline. We may even play a little Stump the Dave here in the 6 o'clock hour. But you can join us, and we appreciate it. If you want to talk to us this afternoon, 803-404-6100 is how you can do so. You can hit us up via the Cool Care Heating and Air text line, or you can actually call and talk. Love Chevy phone lines. You can.
I'll take it.
Yeah. Man, what was the caller that called into the morning show one time, and I think said Keyshawn Bryant was averaging like 30 points a game or something, and we pointed out, he's like, well, I might fudge the numbers a tad. But
if you say it with enough conviction, I'll believe anything.
This does happen. This happened to me on Monday night. I was my birthday on Monday. I'd had a few beverages to celebrate being 39. I had a family member show up at the house, wanted to hang out for a few minutes. Said family member then tried to convince me that we should all take the family as a whole should take a vacation to the beach in Georgia that's on the Gulf Coast.
Yeah, the Gulf of Georgia.
It was one of those things that was said with such conviction, with such authority, that I was like, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Georgia is on the Gulf. Maybe Georgia does touch the Gulf Coast. And I was like, I replied back. I was like, I don't think Georgia's on the Gulf Coast. And this particular family member was like, no, yeah, I grew up there. That's where I used to go down to, when we were teenagers, I would go down there. And like, at this point, now I'm like, I think I really have to look this up. Georgia might touch the Gulf Coast, and I just haven't known this for the last 38 years.
Bottom left quarter, slip through Florida somehow.
I was very confused by the whole situation because, as you just said it, when you say something with conviction, when you say it with authority, and you just act like you're like people are like, oh, okay, that's what it must be. I mean, I understand. I think that's like the first rule of sports talk broadcasting. Like, you may or may not know the facts. But if you say it with power and conviction, you can trick a lot of people. And this happened to me. So when I actually looked up, because the family member had actually come out, I was like, well, I think Georgia might be on the Gulf Coast. Maybe I did not know this. Maybe I should take a vacation to the Gulf Coast of Georgia. So I looked it up. And when I explained to this family member that Georgia is not on the Gulf Coast, the response was, well, one of those oceans it touches, because apparently in their mind, Georgia's out there just touching a whole bunch of oceans, and it's easy to get confused on where exactly Georgia is. So, yeah, you're right. The power of just saying it, being being confident. If you say it, that's kind of how it goes. So we lack maybe the facts, as I've shown from time to time, but what we do not lack is the courage to say it strongly. We come strong with our lack of information and facts and our misinformation that we give to you. So if you want to correct us, we would love it. 803-404-6100. How you can join us this afternoon. Again, Cool Care Heating and Air text line. You can hit us up on Twitter at Will, W-I-L, Gunter, G-U-N-T-E-R. He's at _ Patrick Perret. That's the way you can catch up with him. You can also join us via the live stream. Josh, Lee, Trey, all weighing in here as we try to continue to promote the live stream that we're pretty sure Heath hates. We're not positive about that, but we're pretty sure Heath is not a fan of that. Big thanks as always to our 5 o'clock sponsor, the Gutterman sponsorship. You can give them a call. Protect your largest investment. Call the guys at the Gutterman, 803-791-7147. It's the Gutterman. Give them a phone call today. Big thanks. Normally it's top 5 at 5, but again, I don't want to step on Heath's toes. I don't steal any of his.
There's also not 5 things to talk about.
Slow day. I agree with you. Now, it's going to be a big weekend. We've talked a little bit about. Let's get back into it for a second. A couple of things that Patrick and I want to discuss this hour. The Pro Football Focus mock draft that we just brought up, and I want to get more into that, and I want to take that more into discussion about SEC quarterbacks and where you see Luke Doty, or do you see Jason Brown? We'll get into that a little bit, Patrick. But let's start. Big series this weekend. You mentioned it. You got Darlington is going on down in Florence. I guess it's in Darlington. I don't know why I was trying to allude to Darlington or to Florence, but you got the Darlington going on this weekend. You've got Wells Fargo up in Charlotte if you're into golf. You've got South Carolina and Mississippi State baseball series this weekend. It'll be Brandon Jordan pitching tonight for the Gamecocks. And Patrick, we've kind of talked about it a little bit in the first hour. The momentum is huge in baseball. South Carolina rallied to beat North Florida on Tuesday night. I feel like, and I hope I'm not over-exaggerating this or being a drama queen, that momentum is slipping away from South Carolina with this baseball season when you look at how things have gone, and that this is a kind of a must-win series. Maybe I'm being a drama queen, maybe I'm being dramatic, but I feel like this is extremely important.
I think it's extremely important. I mean, yeah, because you can look and say, like, well, the only series South Carolina has lost this year are the top 10 teams, but at the same time, you can't use that as an excuse and then say, but we still expect to win the College World Series, right? Or we expect to host a regional or things like that. Like, you have to line your expectations up accordingly. So you have to beat one of these top 5 teams. In Florida, I would be lying if I said I know what has happened to the Florida baseball team since the end of March when South Carolina swept them. But, I mean, what other massive series have you won this year? I mean, LSU is not the LSU that we're used to. Georgia is Georgia. I mean, you haven't knocked off one of these premier top 10 teams other than just one game out of the series. So I think for the sake of the fan base and knowing, like, yeah, we can beat a top 5 team 2 out of 3 nights, that would probably be huge. Just we need to see it before the playoffs, I think.
Tonight, Brandon Jordan will go against the probable starter for Mississippi State, Christian McLeod for Mississippi State, 4-3 on the year, a 3.49 ERA, 49 innings pitched, 19 earned runs, 45 hits, 12 walks. He struck out 67. Jordan, 4-3 on the year for the Gamecocks, 3.42 ERA, 55 and a third innings pitched. He struck out 80 and walked 37. This is the part about the South Carolina baseball team, Patrick, that we both agree. Like, we've talked. We sometimes get caught up in flaws, but the struggles of this team against Southeastern Conference competition. The Gamecocks are in the bottom third of the league in batting average, slugging percentage, on base percentage, strikeouts, and runs scored. This is a team that I think has the pitching to be a contender nationally. Right now, though, they don't have the hitting to potentially even put them in the NCAA tournament. And that's what's scary when you go into this coming weekend.
It is, but there's, I think, also the home run splits, like on games where you homer one or multiple times, like they're pretty outrageous. So again, like we know this team is good enough to beat anyone on any given night, but the consistency is what you're scared of. But that's the thing, like we're so deep into the season at this point, you can't just become consistent. You can't snap your fingers and be like, yeah, we're going to start hitting really well. We're going to get on base, multiple times, like 7-8 times a game, and we're going to put up 5 runs a night. Like it's just, you can't flip that switch. It's just, we are what we are. You're a power hitting team. And when the pitching's there and you can hit it deep, like you can win games. But I just don't know. I don't know what the expectation is. And I know Mississippi State's a really good team. I don't know anything about their starting pitching. I don't know anything about the kid that's going to throw tonight. That's not what we do. That's what Tommy Moody and Derek Scott are going to do at 6:45. But I assume that the kid's pretty good tonight.
Yeah, Christian McLeod will be on the mound. Gamecocks have got to hit the ball. You can hear it right here, 107.5 the game. Again, as Patrick just said, our coverage will start at 6:45. Patrick and I will exit the stage right here about 6:35, 6:45, and lead the way for Tommy Moody, Derek Scott tonight. Again, you can hear it right here on 107.5 the game. It will be broadcast on the SEC Network Plus. So if you're looking to catch that, you're going to need to catch it on the SEC Network Plus. So a little baseball talk. If you want to weigh in on that, 803-404-6100 is how you can join us to talk about the baseball series this weekend. Gamecocks, again, I think it's huge. Gamecocks need to win the series. I'm not asking for a sweep, but you talk about the momentum in baseball. And look, I think South Carolina makes the NCAA tournament, but something goes haywire this weekend. Tennessee is going to be really good. Momentum is weird in baseball. You go up to Kentucky. I think that you want to come out of this thing at home. Should be a good crowd. Looks like a beautiful night, by the way. So it should be a fun time down there in South Carolina, who has not won a Friday night game, Patrick, since I think you pointed this out. If I remember correctly, I was listening to you driving the kids home one day. I don't think they've won a Friday night game since March 26th. Does that seem correct to you?
Since they swept Florida, they haven't won game 1 of an SEC series.
So, yeah, that gives you an idea there of what's going on. We'll kind of continue to talk about that again if you want to weigh in. 803-404-6100. We're an equal opportunity radio program. We can discuss all kinds of sports. Again, factually, we may be a little off. However, Tyler weighs in. And I have not – Patrick, you pointed this all out earlier, hockey-wise, playoffs. Not far away. I have not paid as much attention, but I do get into playoff hockey. But Tyler wants to know on the Cool Care Heating and Air text line, Patrick's thoughts on the Penguins right now.
Oh, my thoughts are that I hate them. But no, they're playing unbelievable right now. I mean, I think they're like, they've won 8 of their last 10. They're in first place in the best division in hockey. That East division is just loaded with the Penguins, Capitals, Bruins, and Isles all going to make the playoffs starting next week. The format is different now. Like you have to play out your division. So the Penguins will have to play the Islanders, it looks like right now, and the Caps Bruins will have to square off, and that's going to be brutal. And then the winners will play each other. The Penguins are awesome, and they should be a Stanley Cup favorite or amongst the Stanley Cup favorites. They're probably one of the 5 or 6 best teams in hockey as it stands right now. But I just think I want the East to do well because they are the best division, and I want the Capitals to come out of it. But I think there's a chance that these teams in the East are going to beat each other up so bad that they're just not going to have the gas and get all the way through. Like, I think Toronto is in a great spot there in the North because the North is terrible outside the Leafs. So, yeah, the Penguins are awesome, and whoever comes out of that East will be one of the best teams in hockey, but it's just hard to get through that grind. It's the old SEC argument. Like, when you get through an SEC schedule and then play a team in the national championship who got to breeze through a perfect ACC season, it just wears you down a little bit more than playing Syracuse and Pittsburgh and, teams like that.
803-404-6100, how you can join us this afternoon. So, yeah, we're an equal opportunity entertainment program. We will talk a little hockey if that is the direction you want to take it. One thing we do want to get into, I want to get into, because Patrick kind of brought it up, and he brought it up in relation to a pro football focused mock draft. Mike Renner putting it out there. And let's give this as the 2022 mock draft that Mike Renner has put out there. His number one overall pick is a guy that Patrick said for a while, Spencer Rattler. He's got his teams there. I don't really care about the teams because that can all change.
No, I don't either.
Yeah, the Texans. He's got the Texans going 1, the Lions 2. Shocking, I know, but he's got the Jets picking 3rd. I think the Jets are just always in the top 5 picking. But Spencer Rattler going number 1. Patrick, we talk about quarterbacks nationally next year. I still feel like Rattler is he's living on is basically the Lincoln Riley buzz of, hey, Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray. It does point out that Rattler earned a scintillating 92.5 passing grade in his first season as the starter. He's a plus athlete, and the biggest question will be his size, 6'1", 205. But Spencer Rattler would be the number 1 pick. Sam Howell, North Carolina quarterback, would be number 2. We're talking quarterbacks right now, so I'm going to skip down because then the next quarterback taken at number 6 is a guy that both shocked. And when you told me and I looked at it, Emory Jones. There's no way Emory Jones, quarterback at Florida, ends up being a first-round pick in 2022.
If you scroll down even further, you'll see at number 11 is former Auburn quarterback, current Liberty quarterback, Malik Willis, who's got just a hose. But all these guys, yeah, they're all super toolsy. And, I don't think we can deny that Emory Jones has the tools. He's a really good runner, and he actually does have a strong arm. We've seen him throw the ball deep, albeit not successfully, but he can throw the ball hard. So it's actually, I think the Emory Jones question is more almost a Dan Mullen question. And Dan Mullen has made some average quarterbacks look really good. So I think it's more about how much do you respect Dan Mullen, what he's able to do offensively, because if he can Emory Jones, all the tools are there. Can Dan Mullen make an NFL quarterback out of him? I don't know.
So this leads me to ask, what are your thoughts? Where do you stand on the quarterback situation for South Carolina? I know a lot of you were kind of up in arms about the performance of Luke Doty, which I didn't think was bad at the spring game. Look, I'm not overly impressed with what Jason Brown did. He threw 2 touchdown passes to a guy he's been playing football with since 7th grade. They've got a connection. So you think about this, Emory. This is a wild projection. And again, Mike Renner explains that the opening sentence says as much here regarding Emory Jones. This one is,
and when you're taking a shot, in fairness, you're taking a shot a year ahead of time before the kids even started. So Joe Burrows, there's always a new guy that pops out every year. Nobody's talking about Zach Wilson this time last year, but he ends up being the number 2 pick. So yeah, it's not worth reading into too much, and he knows that. So he's just probably doing it for clicks.
But I think the interesting point of this is now you look at that, and it makes me think about Emory Jones at Florida. I got bad news for you, Patrick. We get this July and August. I'm going to be down on Florida again. I'm going to revisit my Florida is overrated chant there after all they lost this past season.
Because Tim and I got into that yesterday, and he said, who's the biggest threat to Alabama? And he was like, well, obviously it's Georgia in the East. And I was like, I actually don't think so. I think it's going to be Florida.
We'll talk about that. Who do you got? Who is the biggest threat to Alabama? We're not saying it's South Carolina, but we'll look at Georgia and Florida. We'll talk about quarterbacks in the SEC and where you have the game backs. Luke Doty, Jason Brown, Colton Gauthier obviously in the mix as well, but it'll either be Doty or Jason Brown. Where do you stand with the quarterback situation for the University of South Carolina? Are you okay with it? Hey, we got 2 guys. One of them will push the other one into being a starter. Are you completely unhappy with it? Patrick, I'm going to ask you this when we come back, so I'll give you time. Somebody hit me up yesterday and said, should South Carolina pursue TJ Finley in the transfer portal? We'll talk about the Gamecock quarterback situation, the SEC quarterback situation as a whole. You're listening to Game Time on 107.5 The Game. Oh, got to get back in the gym. Starting to gain a little weight here.
Have you ever written to your TV provider and said you need to add this channel?
No. I'm pretty sure that goes straight into their junk email.
I don't know if that's ever worked for anyone, but I need the ACC network, and it says, like, yeah, write to your TV provider and demand that they add the ACC network.
Yeah, that's what they all say. Demand. Demand that, yeah, I'm sure that works.
Oh, it's graduation day.
At USC?
Yeah. At Williams-Brice. Ugh, miserable.
I don't know. It wasn't too bad of a day. It was kind of nice out there right now.
Did you graduate in Williams-Brice?
No, Colonial Life Arena.
Yeah, exactly. That would be good. But even though in a black gown.
I graduated in December. I was a December graduate.
Same.
5.5 years there. It was that was the time.
5.5?
Yeah, we spent some time there.
That's a lot. I did 4.5.
What do you mean, why?
Huh?
Why? Because
I didn't say why.
Oh, I thought you said why.
I said that's a lot. I did 4.5 though.
Yeah, my first 2 years, I remember driving away from campus. I was driving away from campus after my full second year. So summer, going into May or whatever, going the end of my second year. And I'd taken my last exam, and I'm driving away from campus, going back to the house that I had, thinking, I'm no closer to graduating today than I was when I started. I literally had wasted.
Did you ever do summer classes?
Huh?
Did you ever do summer classes?
Yeah, after I learned that first summer. So, I don't know if this happened to you or not. You were an athlete, so you probably had to do it. But so the first year that I was in college, the first year that summer, I didn't do summer classes. And you go from like May until all the way until like August. It was the longest summer ever. And I remember them being like almost bored by like mid-July.
Yeah.
And so I learned my lesson to take summer classes, and I started taking summer classes after that. I take once, but yeah, I was nowhere near graduating after 2 years.
Yeah, we're good.
We're debating on the live stream, huh? I'll put them on for a second. (803-404-6100). You can join us, Cool Care Heating and Air text line, or you can hit us up via the Love Chevy phone lines. And let's get out. We'll talk more about this NFL draft, or the 2022 draft, and quarterbacks in the SEC, because that's really interesting. But let's get out to those Love Chevy phone lines. Kip Balknight waiting patiently with what I can only assume is some astute baseball knowledge of the weekend. We were talking earlier, Kip, about people that fans tune in to listen to for the knowledge. You're one of those guys, being a former Gamecock. What do you see this weekend regarding this team?
Have you noticed anything different the last 2 weekends? Like, are they pressing too hard? I know that's the thing. Like, if you're just trying to get back in that moment and you think too much the at bat, or you try to hit a home run every time you're at the plate, it's not going to go well for you. Have you noticed anything different the last couple weekends with that? Yeah, well, I know that Wes Clark went over a month without a home run, I think, and then has hit home runs his last 2 games. I think that might be an example of that. That would be huge, I would think. Is he back in the groove of things, you think?
Well, and Kip, this is we talk about it. This is the problem I have. You're right. We're nitpicking, but that's because of the tradition of South Carolina baseball and what our expectations are for the program as a whole, not one in particular team. But as you just said, if you're trying to change things in the middle of the season, nobody's questioning if this isn't a 500 baseball team. The expectation, what you said is you're right. This team can get hot and get to Omaha, and that's what you look at. So I don't want anybody to be like, oh, boy, they're really bashing the baseball team and saying that they're not good. That's not what we're trying to say. What we're trying to say is, like, South Carolina baseball is expected to go and compete for national championships. You set that standard, Kip. That standard was set before you. That's what we hold this program to. But what I heard you say on specifically Wes Clark, and I wonder about the batting, is trying to make adjustments now. I don't like that at this point in the season, not with 3 series left. I think the other part to that I think is fascinating. You've been there. You were on one of the greatest South Carolina baseball teams ever. And what you said, I think, is very true. And you see it not just at South Carolina, but you see it across baseball. And I'll ask, Patrick and I discussed this earlier, maybe we didn't catch it. Is baseball the sport that when momentum gets going, or superstition, you can throw superstition in there with Kip. I don't know if you ever had one. Hey, I've pitched 6 straight games, really good. I'm not washing my socks. Baseball feels like the sport, though, where superstition or momentum matters the most. I don't feel like you see that in other sports. And what you just said, a little bit of confidence, the ball rolling down the hill, guys believing in themselves. It feels like it matters more in baseball. You can speak that you were a 3-sport star. I think at least a 3-sport star at BC at Brooklyn Casey. Obviously, we know what you did at South Carolina. But Patrick, Patrick, you were a college athlete. I'll let you and Kip take this. Is baseball the sport where momentum is most important? We'll let Patrick get to that answer there on superstition and let him get it covered. But I appreciate you joining us this afternoon. I apologize. I was looking all over. You're on the call with the SEC Network. Are you on your way to Columbia? Or you're in Columbia? Why am I asking? You are on the way to this? He's heading to the stadium. If you want to listen to him, SEC Network Plus tonight. Kip, always appreciate you joining us. Need to get out and play some golf soon. You got to give me a couple strokes, but I think we can keep it competitive.
Appreciate it.
We'll let him do that. Appreciate Kip all night. Patrick, I'll ask you. You played lacrosse. I just don't see momentum. I feel like football is a week-to-week thing, and the momentum doesn't always carry over. And basketball is different. College basketball is different. I feel like baseball, the sport as a whole, is so momentum based that what Kip's saying is exactly right. South Carolina finds their confidence, they find their momentum. The next thing you know, this team look no further, Patrick, before you arrived at the University of South Carolina, than a team that we all questioned. I'll never forget. I was doing radio, and South Carolina went 2-2 in barbecue in Omaha, and they lost to Auburn, and people were calling a radio program that I was on, and they were questioning Ray Tanner. They didn't know if he was the guy for the job, and South Carolina went out and railed off. I forget what exactly it was the first year. I forget if it was 10 or 11 or whatever it was, but it was a ridiculous number. I think they lost the opening game in Omaha. I'm 2010 is when we're talking about the first national championship. I think they lost to Oklahoma. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. And then battled through the losers bracket and won the national championship. I feel like momentum, and maybe lacrosse is that way, but I just feel like momentum in baseball is wild.
Well, lacrosse, because you can play make it take it. Like there's a face off and you can basically score and keep it going. So momentum within a game itself is really big. I don't know. I go back and forth on baseball because like when you do kind of feel like your swing is locked in and you're just seeing the ball really well, you can definitely ride that momentum, like just keep it going. But at the same time, like Kip was talking about with Wes Clark, like he was trying to hit home runs. Like all it takes is a couple bad games. And it's just like, now I'm trying to swing for the fences every time, and it's a problem. And yeah, I mean, the season is so long, and you're never going to win every baseball game. I mean, you're talking about a sport that you play in college, at least. You're playing 4 days a week. And when you're hitting, you're going to fail 2/3 of the time, basically. Like, you're not going to hit every ball. So I don't know. I go back and forth. Like, momentum is definitely important, but you play so much that it's like failure is built into the game. So you're never going to be perfect, and you just kind of have to balance that, I think. Football, you can go 15-0. Like, the national championship is probably going to go 14-1 or 15-0 to win the national championship. So I mean, momentum maybe carries over, but really, I think it's just there's a lot of parity in baseball as well. So I don't know. I go back and forth on that one.
803-404-6100. We'll get more into this Pro Football Focus mock draft that has Emory Jones at number 6, but we'll lead that to discussing quarterbacks in the SEC. Get Patrick's take on quarterbacks in the SEC. Luke Doty, Jason Brown, where do you stand on that? You're listening to Game Time on 107.5 The Game. Bill Gunter, Patrick Perret filling in for Kevin.
Wasted no time.
What?
So Dave wasted no time starting that break.
He was ready to go. He had the finger on the button. I set him up. I messed that up, though. I messed that up. I kind of didn't. I kind of jumped back into our names on that. I guess I'm gonna have to go to this FedEx place on Monday.
I mean, how late can they actually bring it?
I don't know, but the fact that I got a sign for it doesn't help. That's why I kind of keep walking away and see what's going on out there. Yeah, I kind of don't know what to do about that. That's kind of like, all right.
Well, this live stream is not.
Yeah, it's totally different. I told you. I saw this yesterday. It's definitely a lot different, isn't it?
I thought it went. I can't even remember. I guess I didn't really see the numbers, but when we did it for 12-1 one time. Tim and Preston and I did it once.
Well, yeah, but that makes sense because think about it. Everybody's sitting at their office. That's even easier. What you've got now is basically people who right now from 5 to 6, a lot of people are driving home.
Yeah.
I can see, honestly, after doing it, I can see why Heath wouldn't necessarily want to do this because I don't think it's conducive to a live stream. What it is good for, if you can pipe in the audio like Tim does, is for archiving your show.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I can kind of see that more now. And then, like I said, as opposed to mornings where you're taking kids to school or doing something like that, and then you're dropping them off, you're going home and you're having to spend time with them, maybe your wife or your husband or whoever. Totally different.
That was nice of Kip to kill a segment for us.
Yes, I agree. Yeah, we'll come back and we'll get into the draft stuff. Gotta try to remember to read one of these liners here.
What do you watch during the show on TV?
Normally in the mornings, I've got CNBC on and I'm watching stock stuff. Right now, I've got the Wells Fargo on. Oh, John Rahm just missed a very short putt and chunked his ball into the. Oh, he's ticked.
I've just been watching like tours of mansions.
Ansley had me watching when we went to the beach last week. The HGTV show that
like house hunters type stuff.
Well, it was the people that win the lottery, and then they can buy their dream home.
My lottery dream home,
huh?
My lottery dream home.
Yeah, but I mean, it was kind of funny because what you ended up getting was, like if somebody won $1 million, $2 million lottery, what do you think they ended up getting? Like $700,000 when it was all said and done.
Yeah. That's why.
Like you had one guy who's like budget was like $150,000 to $250,000. Like, well, okay.
Where they look at 3 houses and they pick one, is that what it is?
Yeah, they give them 3 houses. Yeah, we may have to throw some Stump to Dave in here later this afternoon and involve Captain Dave in the show, see what we can get there for Captain Dave. We used to have a phenomenal game called Stump to Dave, and then Heath figured out we had way too much time or way too much fun on his show and stopped taking vacation. So it hasn't been a Dave, Patrick, and Bill game time in quite a while, but we hope that you're doing all right. 5:41 on a Friday afternoon, probably heading home, trying to be safe. Go and hug and kiss the ones you love. Hang out. Maybe you're heading out to the ballpark. Big thanks to Kip Bulknight for joining us just then to talk a little South Carolina baseball. Programming note, we will go about another hour, and then we will turn it over to Tommy Moody and Derek Scott. So we'll wrap up a little early today and turn it over to those guys. If you want to join us, 803-404-6100 is how you can do so. Travis hits us up on the live stream. You can go to the live stream, 1075thegame.com, or just 1075thegame on the YouTube page and check us out. Travis says, "What's up, guys?" So what's going on, Travis? So we've got a little interaction there as well. We've talked about, I've kind of wanted to get more into it, this quarterback situation in the SEC, Patrick, because I think you look at South Carolina and the initial reaction, I think for a lot of people after watching the spring game was, oh boy, Luke Doty, he was 5 of 7. I think the offense was wildly vanilla. I don't think it showed us anything. There was a really bad miss by Luke Doty, but there was a really good comeback throw, kind of an out route to Kerryon Joyner. There were good and there was bad. And I think that he's got time to continue to progress. But you brought up the Pro Football Focus, Mike Renner's mock draft for 2022. And it got me thinking about the quarterbacks in the SEC in this coming season, 2021, and the transition you'll have from Mac Jones and Kyle Trask, and throw Kellen Mond in there. It's interesting to look at the quarterbacks, see who's coming back and who you believe in, and the young guys that are coming up. Luke Doty was highly thought of in the recruiting game. He's got to live up to that hype. But, Patrick, you look at the quarterbacks, where do you kind of slot what South Carolina's working with into that situation?
I would say relative middle of the pack. Like the quarterbacks that are definitely feeling good about their quarterback situation, Alabama, I would say Florida, Georgia, LSU, and Ole Miss. Would you say anyone else feels phenomenal about the quarterback situation going in? I mean, Bazelak was pretty good for Missouri last year. I don't know that they're going in saying, like, we've got an future NFL player here. And I know that Auburn doesn't love Bo Nix. I don't know. I think it's also it's almost more important who's calling the plays in college football these days as it is who's throwing the football. Just because, like, you just look at that mock draft and the first 2 guys are Rattler and Howell. Yeah, they both got the physical tools, but Lincoln Riley has seemed to make everyone a Heisman contender. Phil Longo was one of the most underrated play callers in the country. I don't think he is anymore. I think everyone's kind of waking up to that and how skilled he is actually. And then it's just toolsy guys. Like Emory Jones is super toolsy, and like Malik Willis from Liberty super toolsy. Like, can you mold those guys in like you need to? Like, that's kind of what it is. Is Scott Satterfield or Marcus Satterfield more important than Luke Doty this year for his actual success? I don't know.
Yeah, I'll throw it. And I said Harrison Beck earlier, and I don't know why. It was a recruiting name from years and years and years ago. I mean, I'm looking. I said Harrison Beck, Texas A&M. I looked at Texas A&M stats. It's Haynes King, which just goes to show you when you start doing recruiting, names just stick with you. Haynes King is the big time recruit that Texas A&M landed. Jimbo Fisher landed a few years ago. He'll be I think he's going to be, I guess you consider him a freshman again. He was a freshman this past year, so I don't know if you want to consider him a freshman again or just a sophomore. But Haynes King is the guy not Harrison Beck. Harrison Beck, South Carolina recruited a long time ago. How long ago, you asked? Why is he stuck in your name? I don't know. It was like 2006. And I kept thinking that's the guy at Texas A&M. So crazy what sticks in my mind sometimes. Haynes King was a Luke Doty type clone for Texas A&M. He threw 4 passes last year. And one of them came against South Carolina for 42 yards, by the way.
I don't think Kellen Mond ever missed a game in college, did he?
I don't think he did, not that I remember. I only ask that because you bring up a good point about how you feel about your quarterback situation, and Haynes King steps in at Texas A&M. Again, he was a very similar quarterback in the recruiting rankings to Luke Doty, and he's thrown 4 career passes. At least you and I've talked about this. There's a lot of us. Will Muschamp got fired. The team stunk. We all blanked out on the last half of the season, right? Like the last 3 games, we just all checked out and don't remember anything. But Luke Doty did get some opportunities to improve or to go out and play against Georgia and Kentucky, half of a game against Missouri. If you're South Carolina, do you feel better about your quarterback situation right now than Texas A&M? I would think so. I would think so with a guy who's shown himself and with Jason Brown.
Yeah, maybe, but you also didn't see anything spectacular. Like, I think Alabama going into last season felt really good because when Tua went down, Mac Jones just lit it up every single game and was like, oh, okay, well, we got this kid next year. We'll just go ahead and sit Bryce Young for a year because Mac Jones is the real deal. Like if you had seen Luke Doty throw for 350 yards and 3 touchdowns or something like that, you'd probably feel phenomenal. But now with that we have gotten a longer look at Luke Doty, there are still South Carolina fans that are unsure about what to expect. So I don't know. I mean, playing does help, and maybe you just say, hey, you got the freshman jitters out of him. He wasn't even playing quarterback for half of the summer practices last year. Like they had him working a wide receiver and bouncing back and forth, and he was just thrust into the lineup in the middle of a game. Like it wasn't a good situation for a quarterback to come into. No wide receivers. Shi Smith was hurt for his last one or two starts, I think. So yeah, it was not an ideal situation for Luke Doty to jump into, but you didn't see him just light the world on fire, and I don't know how to feel about it.
803-404-6100. We'll continue this conversation talking about quarterbacks. But Jim, our resident Clemson fan, who I actually appreciate, I don't mind Jim. You and Tim don't feel the same ways, but I actually enjoyed Jim's interactions. And he asks a question that I'm going to ask you because you're our resident mock draft guy. And Jim, we're going to do this based on mock drafts and not just guys that are out there. But let's hypothetically, Patrick, during this break, the top 5 quarterbacks for the NFL next year, regardless of class, who do you got? We'll get that when we come back, because he says, Jim in Carolina Beach asks, who's your top 5 quarterbacks in 2021? I think it's a good question. Let's do it based on NFL potential, Patrick. NFL potential, whether they're a sophomore, like DJ is at Clemson. I guess he's a freshman again because of the year, but you get the point. But whatever year they are, I want Patrick's top 5 quarterbacks, regardless of year, in college football next year. But I want it based on NFL potential. 803-404-6100. I look forward to that. You're listening to Game Time on 107.5 The Game. That's right, Travis. Emory Jones. That's what got us on this conversation was the Pro Football Focus thing.
Probably not going to have a lot of fun here either, right?
No, we'll let you give those 5, and then we can carry that conversation into the 6 o'clock hour. Bathroom break. Oh. Top of the hour, I'm gonna have to go look at the mailbox and see if that maybe that's where it's at. I don't know.
You didn't need a sign?
Huh?
And maybe you didn't need a sign?
Maybe I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't see this, but I know people are talking about it, Travis. I mean, they're definitely talking about it on DC radio. I would trade anything for Aaron Rodgers. I would love that. I would love that more than anything. I don't think he wants to play in Washington, though, and I will refuse to get my hopes up until it actually looks like something that's realistic.
Oh, goodness.
This guy just texted in about me saying like. He hasn't texted in 6 months.
Well, but you know what is even funnier? Look at the 217 phone number. Like Harrison, he's right. Harrison Beck ended up at NC State, but what a random text that hadn't come in since December 1st.
Yeah, almost exactly a year ago, this guy Ryan texted in and said, how many times is this dude going to say like? It was actually one of the times we did Heath's show last summer. I guess he only texted in the Heath show. Sorry. Thinking on the fly. We don't script our.
Nah. We're a very unscripted show. We show up and we discuss whatever's on our mind at that moment. Which is totally different from Heath, where I do know he spends a lot of time putting in show prep. All right, we got a few minutes here. You ready?
Yep.
Got your list?
Yeah.
Just a minute left here in the 5 o'clock hour, but let's ask Patrick. All right, Patrick, we'll discuss this more next hour, but I think Jim asked a legitimate question. Top 5 quarterbacks, regardless of year, for the NFL and college football next season. Who are the top 5 NFL prospects at the quarterback position, regardless of year? So that, who you got on that big draft board there?
I wrote 10 down because it's actually hard to break it.
Oh, really?
5. Yeah, but I mean the big 3 is Rattler, Howell, Slovis. So I put those 3. I put JT Daniels because he's a former number 1 recruit. Can make every throw. His arm is huge, and he really opened up Georgia's offense when he finally took the field last year. I think they could be dangerous, although losing all of his receivers, it seems like, will definitely not help. And then number 5, I was very, very conflicted on who to put here. I put Desmond Ridder, the Cincinnati quarterback, who had a really good year last year. I think over 2,000 yards in 10 games, almost led them to a win against Georgia in the bowl game. I can't remember which bowl it was at this point. But, yeah, Desmond Ridder, I think, has a pretty good chance to be kind of a breakout guy next year if Cincinnati can play close to what they did last year.
Big game against Notre Dame. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that in the next hour. Talk more about this quarterback situation. little baseball as well. You're listening to Game Time. Bill Gunter, Patrick Perret, Captain David Dare, 107.5 again.
Okay.
Sounds good. All right.
Top of the hour again.
I'll be right back. Quick break, everybody. Everybody, quick break.
Yeah, everybody go get a refill.
Yeah, that's honestly, the 6 o'clock hour should be the club. We should do what Levitard does. It should just be club hour.
All right, 40 more minutes. Oh, it is on. Paramount Plus. Bill, you ready? All right, 6 o'clock here. 107.5 The Game. It's game time. Heath Cline is out until next Tuesday. Today and Monday, it'll be me, Patrick Perret, and Bill Gunter getting you through. We got about 40 minutes left before we turn it over to Tommy Moody and Derek Scott for Game 1 of South Carolina and Mississippi State baseball. Kicking off 7 o'clock at Founders Park. Coverage will start at 6:45. And we've been all over the place, Bill. Where do you want to start with this hour?
Yeah, we've bounced around, and yeah, you're right. First pitch, 7 o'clock. So you and I will get everybody through about the next 40 minutes. Captain David there. We might throw some Stump the Dave in there. Maybe you and I can come up with some questions in the next 20 minutes to test our resident. There is nobody on this station, Tommy Moody included, who knows more about one individual thing than Captain Dave does about music. So we might have to throw a little Stump the Dave in there. But yeah, you're right. We've been all over the map. But this story, little breaking news coming out of ESPN here, as our guy Travis on the live stream brings it up. Zion Williamson out indefinitely for the New Orleans Pelicans. Fractured left ring finger. He underwent a CT scan on Thursday that revealed the injury. A treatment plan and timetable for his return will be determined upon further evaluation. This is what David Griffin, the vice president of basketball operations for the Pelicans, had to say. And Patrick, I only really get into this because I do enjoy Zion. Was it this week? Last week, I forget what night it was. Zion and Steph Curry faced off, and it was a fun game, and I was into it. And Zion is fun. He brings me. I'm an NBA guy. I'm a playoff guy. We talked about this with the NHL. I'm a playoff guy for the NHL. I'm a playoff guy for the NBA. Zion makes the game more fun. But I'll ask you this: David Griffin, vice president of basketball operations, was quoted today saying Zion's been absolutely mauled in the paint on a regular basis, to the point that other players have said to him, I'm going to keep doing this to you because they don't call it. There's more violence encouraged in the paint against Zion Williamson than any other player I've seen since Shaq O'Neal. Have you gotten into you're an NBA guy. You get into it. You're from an NBA market. Like I know that not everybody listening is an NBA person, and I get it. But Zion Williamson is one of those people, I think, that attracts you to a sport, much like you didn't have to be a golf fan to go out and watch Tiger Woods or to sit down and watch. Zion Williamson is that for the NBA. And this isn't good for the NBA to have Zion Williamson injured. But that quote is what stood out to me and where we'll start this segment, little NBA discussion. Let me read it again. David Griffin, the vice president of basketball operations for the Pelicans, for the New Orleans Pelicans, he's been absolutely mauled in the paint on a regular basis, to the point that other players have said to him, I'm going to keep doing this to you because they don't call it. There's more violence encouraged in the paint against Zion Williamson than any player I've seen since Shaq O'Neal. Again, he said, I've seen since Shaq. I mean, interesting for him to come out and say that. A week full of quotes. Jimbo Fisher, Nick Saban, but then you got this one.
I don't know what to make of this. I mean, like, I think naturally it's such a subjective thing, fouls down in the paint. So when Zion, who is pushing 300 pounds, I think he's like 280, yeah, they're not going to probably call it as much as someone who's like a point guard running through and getting a little bit of body contact, getting thrown 10 feet across the court. Like, that's just what happens. We've heard this same thing about LeBron James, like not getting calls, but we also see LeBron James, 250 pounds, running through the lane, just eating just slaps. Like, I don't know. I guess I don't watch the Pelicans enough to know whether I agree or disagree with David Griffin, but my instinct is just like, you're complaining because your guy is hurt and you want to stand up for your players, so I understand it. But it's kind of natural for that to be the case. Big guys take a lot more violence down low than point guards do when they slash to the rim and make a play. Like, that's just how it's going to be. You can handle yourself better when you're 280 pounds. So I think it's a little overblown.
Interesting. I look again. You talk about what's going on with the NBA. I'll get into the NBA when the playoffs come around. I get it. The same thing with Major League Baseball. It's hard. It's hard for me to follow it throughout the year. I know, I talked a little bit about the Braves yesterday late in the program. The Pelicans are right there. They're 1.5 games out. So if you don't know what the NBA is doing, Patrick, you know this, right? There's now a play-in game for the NBA playoffs. Okay. I don't know whether I like it or not. Let's watch it here in a month and a half and see what happens. But what you've got here now is the NBA Eastern and Western Conference will each take the top 6 seeds in their conference, and they'll advance them directly into the playoffs. Then 7, 8, 9, and 10 will have play-in games. Patrick, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's 2 play-in games, correct? It's not a series. Am I right?
No, it's not a series. It's like the 7 plays the 8, and the 9 plays the 10, and the winner plays, and the lower seed only has to win 1 game. The 7 seed only has to win 1 game, but like for the 10 seed to end up making the playoffs, they would have to win 3 games in a row. I think so.
Oh, good.
It is harder. It's skewed towards the lower seed, but they're trying to stop tanking. And there wasn't as much trade deadline action this year, so I think in a way that might have worked a little bit because a team like the Wizards were talking about trading Bradley Beal and just blowing the thing up, but they didn't, and now they're surging in a big way, and they're going to make the playoffs and play-in games. So. I do think it worked to an extent. It may boost the ratings a little bit to get people ready and amped up for the playoffs. But in the grand scheme of things, it's pointless to make 2 teams play each other just so they can get destroyed by like the Sixers or Nets or whoever they end up playing.
Yeah, and again, I get it. There's some of you out there like, oh, NBA talk. Well, we're talking about the playoffs, and you're talking about a guy that I think we all tune in to see in Zion Williamson. And here's part of the reason I bring it up. The Pelicans are 1.5 games out of that 10 spot. They're right there at it, 1.5 games out. They're 30 and 36 on the season. Got to get them more help, but they're right there at it. Now you lose Zion, and look, the NBA needs LeBron's about to head on, and I don't think Kevin Durant or Kyrie Irving and I think Steph Curry's getting up there in age. Who is the next face of the NBA? It's Zion, right, Patrick? That's exactly who it is, right?
Yeah, I mean, he might be one of many. I mean, there was was it last night? 2 nights ago, I think Anthony Edwards and John Morant played against each other. They went for like 45 and 40 each. There is a lot of young talent, but no name is bigger than Zion. Nobody puts people in the seats like Zion does.
Yeah, but I only bring that up. You need him. The NBA needs him in the playoffs. I think even you out there that's going, man, NBA talk, really? Come on, guys. That's not this market. If I tell you Zion's home in a playoff game on a Tuesday or Wednesday night, and you should tune in, I think you might tune in just to watch Zion. So find that story interesting as we get into the afternoon. 803-404-6100. That's how you can join us this afternoon. Patrick, go back through your list of quarterbacks there. I offered you earlier 10 quarterbacks, regardless of class, or I said 5. You went to 10. So give us all 10 quarterbacks, regardless of class, that are the best NFL prospects.
Spencer Rattler will go number 1 next year. I would bet that right now. Sam Howell from North Carolina, very toolsy, super productive his first couple of years. Keaton Slovis from Southern Cal, JT Daniels from Georgia, 2 highly recruited guys. Desmond Ridder from Cincinnati had a huge year last year and is coming in with a lot of expectations this year. But then the other 5 I just think Matt Corral is going to have a massive year at Ole Miss. I think he's like potentially a dark horse Heisman candidate. He's going to put up huge numbers. Ole Miss is a good team. People are going to be talking about Matt Corral. Like, he will throw for 5,000 yards, whatever. He's going to throw a million touchdown passes just because of that offense and his relationship with Lane Kiffin. So I put him. Derek King, people kind of forget that he's still in college, but he tore his ACL last year, and he's coming back. He's going to run it back in Miami again. Like, I don't know what to expect from him, but he is electric to watch, and I think he could potentially be an NFL candidate, especially today. The 2 guys that were mentioned in that mock draft were Malik Willis and Emory Jones. Malik Willis has an enormous arm for a smaller guy, but he is very good, and Liberty will probably be awesome this year again with Hugh Freeze going back. But the last one I also put that doesn't get talked about, especially here, but think Jaden Daniels might be a legitimate NFL prospect. He was really highly recruited coming out of high school. He's athletic. He can run. He's a legit dual threat. He's got a big arm. And Arizona State, I mean, they haven't been very good, but I think he's a legitimate potential NFL prospect. He's got all the tools, all the ability in the world.
You ask, well, why are they discussing this? Why are they bringing this up? Well, we bring it up because Mike Renner, Pro Football Focus, a guy that Patrick follows very closely, has released a mock draft for the 2022. The South Carolina news related to this, J.J. Ngbare, who is now starting to pop up on mock drafts, first-round mock drafts across the networks here. He has Ngbare going to the New York Jets at 22. Now, again, teams are irrelevant. I don't know how you come up with this. But this is what he had to say. He's got Ngbare going in the first round. Ngbare broke out as a junior in 2020, putting up an 89.2 pass rushing grade in 8 games. He probably would have been a day 2 pick this year had he declared, but he returned to try and build on that for a full season. At 6'4", 270 pounds, Ngbare has the frame everyone is looking for at the position early on in the draft. Patrick, let me take this a step further. We'll come back to the quarterbacks, okay? There's a lot of people, the narrative I hear on South Carolina is that there's no talent there. That a lot of people are making this out, and rightfully so because of 2-8, okay? 4-8, 2-8. I get it. But the narrative is that there's no talent there on this South Carolina roster. Kevin Harris is a 1,000-yard rusher. I think Dylan Wanham's got a chance to be drafted. I'm not sure if it's the 5th, 6th, 7th round, but I think Dylan Wanham's got a chance. Ngbare is now being listed as a first-round pick. Jordan Birch, Zach Pickens, they were 5-star players. How much do they develop under Jimmy Lindsey? Can they take the next steps forward? Rick Sandage was a 4-star guy. I was actually watching the video, the mic'd up video of Clayton White last night, and Rick Sandage has a move in there where he comes off a block and absolutely crushes Kevin Harris in one of the videos, and Clayton White really likes it. I think there is talent on this football team. Now, before anybody loses their minds like, oh, Gunter's saying that this team's great. No, I'm not saying that. But again, I compare them to Kentucky, Missouri, and Tennessee because there's your 3 games this year. Those are your 3 games, Patrick. You go 2-1 in those games. And 2-1 is fair because 2 of them are on the road. Missouri, Tennessee, Kentucky's at home. You go 2-1 in those games. You factor that in with the 4 that we assume you should win: East Carolina, Eastern Illinois, Troy, and Vanderbilt. Now you're at 6 wins, and you're an upset away from a 7-5 season that would be wildly above, I think, most people's expectations.
You think? You think
7-5, 7 wins.
Would be wildly above expectations?
I think most people, somebody hit me up yesterday, as people do on the text line, and said that I was participating in recreational drug use because I suggested that South Carolina should be expected to win 6 games next year, 7 games next year. Because I look at the schedule, and I don't think South Carolina is that bad. The texter that came in said that the Vegas line for South Carolina's wins was 3.5. I didn't look that up to confirm it. I just moved on. But yeah, I
thought it was 4.5 because
he said 3.5. He said 4. I was like, well, I don't know if I believe that. But I always say that because before we go back to the quarterback discussion, I know it's one guy. I get it. It is one guy. But South Carolina, I think there are players there that lead you to believe 6 wins should happen. 7 wins isn't unrealistic.
I know. I agree with that. I think 6 wins is very much realistic. The defensive line for South Carolina is going to be very good this year. They're going to be rotating bodies.
Should be.
I'm saying will be.
Okay.
I mean, yes, they should be. Okay. They should be. I mean, you're unfortunately going against great offensive line play, but they're going to be able to rotate bodies, and they're deep and they're top heavy as well. Like they're not top heavy. They have talent at the top, but they're also going to be able to rotate. Like you should not have to worry about that. And obviously the running backs, but I think that a lot of people's expectations are getting pretty ridiculous just because they see a video of Shane Beamer or the players saying, yeah, it's nice. The culture has changed this year. And people watch that and they say, oh, it looks like we're going to win 9 games this year. Like yesterday, Tim and I were talking about threats to Alabama because of the Jimbo Fisher comments. And people are commenting like South Carolina is about to be the Alabama of the East. Like South Carolina is a sleeping giant. We're going to win the SEC every year because we have Shane Beamer now. And I'm like, can we please pump the brakes? Like there is a chance that this football team is not going to be very good this year. So, I mean, yeah, there are a lot of realists probably that look at it and say, yeah, this is probably a 5-win team. But there are no shortage of people that are just drinking all the Kool-Aid about this culture change and think it's going to result in a 10-win season the first year.
803-404-6100. Certainly some Carolina football talk there that can be had. Let's get out to the Love Chevy phone line. Scott has waited patiently. Patrick, we've bounced all over, so I don't know where Scott wants to go with this. Scott, how you doing today? What's on your mind? What you want to talk about?
He's not draft eligible. We were just talking draft. No, I agree with you there. He'll probably be one of the 5 or 10 best quarterbacks in college football next year. So you think he'll be the number 1 pick? Okay.
Well, let's start with this. Thank you for the phone call. I play to win. I don't like to be wrong, even though I'm constantly wrong.
Oh, was something on the line for you?
Oh no! I don't. I assumed he was saying that if I lost, I'd have to put $100 donation. It's not a bad, but I'm not sure that he's wrong. I'm not sure that he's wrong. If you're talking about quarterbacks next year with Sam Howell, and I only say that because I feel like the Spencer Rattler hype, Patrick, is based on what he's done with what Lincoln Riley has done. Does that make sense?
He has got. I mean, no. I mean, it does make sense, but I don't think that's the case because he does have a ridiculous arm. Like he has made some throws that you're like, oh my, not many people can do that. He was the number 1 quarterback in the country for a reason.
He was. Yep, he was ahead of Ryan Helinski. I think Ryan Helinski was 2 or 3. I'm not against Sam Howell going number. I don't know if a quarterback goes number 1. There's so many things that change. What Joe Burrow, Baker Mayfield, the full year before the draft, we weren't discussing those guys, right? Like they weren't even on the board for the top 4 rounds, let alone the number 1 pick. So I think things change drastically. He brings up a good point about would Sam Howell even leave early. We'll continue to monitor it. I think it's interesting. I think it's interesting. I think it's interesting when you talk about quarterbacks across the country, and then you also narrow it down to just the SEC and where people stand in regards to how the South Carolina quarterback situation is. 803-404-6100. Matt weighs in. He says, Grill, Bill, and Patrick, do y'all have the ability to mute each other's microphones? We don't. I don't think so, right, Patrick?
No, Dave's got all the power.
Dave has got all the power. We'll see if we can work up some Grill Bill, or not Grill Bill, it'd be Grill Dave. It'd be Stump the Dave. We'll see if we can work that up here in the next segment. You're listening to Game Time on 107.5 The Game. Oh, Zach likes it.
Yeah, Travis. That is Tim. We don't have Tim or Dave or anybody on the live stream, so we can't play the calls. But yeah, he was saying the Clemson quarterback. He said the Clemson quarterback. What about him? I'll put him over whoever.
Yeah, so I went to walk out to go check the mailbox and literally got to the door and I saw the FedEx guy walking up.
Pulling up. Nice.
Let's see if I can find 3 or 4. Patrick, you can come up maybe with 2 Stump the Daves here. Let me also talk to Dave.
What, music trivia? We only have one more segment, don't we?
I don't know. Let me find out. Dave, where do we stand on segments? Do I have one more, or am I supposed to do 2, or how are we kind of doing this? So this segment will be our last segment. Okay. Well, we'll see if we can get a stump. I can't promise you. That threw me off a tad. So this one will go to 41. What time do we come back? Oh, wow. So this is going to be a long segment.
We should have one more. I think we have one more break. That would make sense. Two more breaks.
Wait, we do have to take another break? All right, do this. Move that break. Let's do one long segment. And then in my ear, let's just do one long segment right here and move all those to that final break. And let's just do this, okay? Can you do that? All right, and then in my ear or text me what time I need to be out by, okay? All right. Patrick, you get all that?
All right.
All right. 803-404-6100. Again, South Carolina baseball set to get going here in about 38 minutes. Exactly 7 o'clock first pitch over at Founders Park Gamecocks. And Mississippi State Bulldogs, the number 4 team in the country. It'll be Brandon Jordan facing off against Christian McLeod, a left-handed pitcher for the Bulldogs tonight. And Patrick will touch on this one more time kind of quickly here. The Gamecocks, I think I know what Kip was saying, but it starts this weekend. Home series, you've got to get hot. You've got to win some games. This is your chance right here to get to start a strong finish. I don't know if they can do anything necessarily this weekend that earns them a regional. I think they're probably on the outside looking in. But, Patrick, you've got to win this series, in my opinion.
Well, yeah. I mean, you got to win tonight. It's getting ridiculous that you can't win a game one. Like that, the fact that that's carried over for, what is it, March 26th, April. So, yeah, a month and a half almost at this point, or a month and 2 weeks. Win a game one, please. Start a series off on the right note. I think Thomas Farr might be pretty salty if Brandon Jordan comes out and pitches tonight and pitches pretty well, but the Gamecocks light up the scoreboard. I probably would be salty if I was him at that point. But you've made the changes. Maybe this is a situation where the players say, hey, Thomas Farr got moved to Sunday not because of his own capabilities. He's pitched well for the most part. He's had struggled a couple outings, but he's been good for the most part. And we just can't give him any support. Please just hit some home runs today. Get on base. Hit for average too. Don't just win because you hit a million home runs. But yeah, win game one. Start the series off on the right foot. It's the number 4 team in the country. You need a little momentum going into it. Don't put your backs up against the wall going into Saturday because you lost another game one.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. Big game tonight. I think, look, South Carolina can certainly bounce back. Tomorrow's pitching matchups will be Will Sanders, 6-2 on the season, 3.38 ERA, 45 strikeouts, 8 walks. He'll face off against Will Bednar, 4-1 on the season, 3.14 ERA, 67 strikeouts, 12 walks on the season. And then Thomas Farr, Sunday. Thomas been the hard luck Friday night starter, 2-5 on the season, 3.67 ERA, 674 strikeouts, 31 walks, and he'll go against Jackson. I believe it's Fristow 3-3, 4.97 ERA, 61 strikeouts, 27 walks. So there's your pitching matchups for the weekend. Again, to me, this comes down to the bats. What can South Carolina do with the bats? They've got to get going here this weekend. If you want to join us and talk any baseball, we got just about 15 minutes left, a little less. Captain Dave's tallying it up now to let me know when we're in and when we're out. 803-404-6100 is how you can join us this afternoon. Part of the discussion has been a pro football focus draft projection. And again, Patrick, we'll kind of go down this path. The SEC next year, if you had to rank quarterbacks in the SEC, you going JT Daniels number one? Is that the surefire number one guy?
I think I would go Matt Corral number one.
Really?
Yeah, maybe not as an NFL guy, but as I think he'll put up the most numbers for sure. I would on who's going to lead the SEC in passing yards next year. I would put Matt Corral. That's not the end all be all, of course, because JT Daniels will be playing on a better team. But I do think that he will just light it up.
Yeah, possibly. It'll be interesting to see what Georgia elects to do. JT Daniels seems pretty cemented into that spot at number one. Brock Vandergriff, a five-star recruit, will be arriving on campus. I don't know if he was there this spring. I didn't look. So I'm not sure if he's there. But, I mean, again, JT Daniels has to continue, I think, to improve and show that he's capable of handling that spot. The guy that you mentioned is kind of interesting. We saw against Georgia to wrap up the season, Desmond Ridder, the quarterback at Cincinnati, and you like him, and you kind of alluded to liking him. I guess I shouldn't put words in your mouth, but he's a guy that you keep an eye on. They've got a huge game against Notre Dame in October that could really shape the outlook of the college football playoff.
Well, yeah, and I mean, I also the teams have to be good for this to happen too, generally. And I think that Cincinnati wasn't like a one-year wonder because they had a different schedule because of COVID. Like, I think they're a legit team. Like, Luke Fickell is a really good football coach, and I think everyone is going to want him as the hiring progresses. But like, he probably could have, if he really wanted to like get Harbaugh fired. I bet if he said like I really want the Michigan job, they potentially would have made that happen because he's very sought after. And I don't know what he's waiting for. I don't know if he's waiting for Ohio State or Ryan Day to go to the NFL or wait for Notre Dame or something like that. But he's a really good football coach. Cincinnati's a really good team, and Desmond Ridder's a really good quarterback. So I kind of expect big things from them next year. I would not be surprised if they beat Notre Dame. Notre Dame with a new quarterback, I honestly couldn't tell you who it's going to be at this point, but they should not sleep on Cincinnati in that game.
One other football note, Patrick, I brought this up yesterday, and it's just a fun. I wouldn't bring this up if it wasn't in our state, but you've done some radio shows with us and Trey Dyson. You know Trey Dyson's philosophy of never punt and everything. Have you seen what Presbyterian College? Are you even familiar? You're not really an in-state guy, but at this point, are you familiar with Presbyterian College?
Yeah, I've never been there, but I mean, I'm aware.
Okay. Have you seen what they're doing with their hiring of their football coach?
No, I think I saw Heath tweet something about this, but I don't know anything about it.
Kevin Kelly was named today the head football coach at Presbyterian. I hit on this a little bit earlier or yesterday. Not earlier today, but he is the guy that is well known for his unique approach to football that includes never punting and almost always onside kicking. He was named the head coach of Presbyterian today. He has been at Pulaski Academy in Little Rock, Arkansas. He's won 9 state titles and was named the USA Today High School Coach of the Year in 2016. Look, I'll say this. If it was any other state, if it was any other coach, I probably wouldn't care. The fact that it's Presbyterian, and I'll be honest, I'm going to have a hard time keeping track of this when we do get to college football season, Patrick. I really only find it very interesting because of our buddy Trey Dyson, who was like, this is the approach to football. This is how you play the game of football. And at least in our state, we get to watch this here with Kevin Kelly. If he follows through on it, this is what he did in high school. It's a lot easier to do it in high school. Now it'll be at the FCS level. I'm kind of interested to see how this plays out.
So never punts or just doesn't usually punt? Was it like a hard fast, like, is he going to pull the punter scholarship as soon as he gets on campus?
Well, I don't know if the punter has a scholarship there. Somebody hit us up on the text message line yesterday and said, boy, it stinks for the punter. No, I mean, it says his unique approach that includes never punting. So I'm assuming never punting and almost always onside kicking. No, I would assume. I'm going to assume in college, if it's 4th and 29 and he's backed up to his 20-yard line, he realizes now's a good time to punt. I'm going to assume that they're
20 and over, or 25 and over, 4th and 25 or over, or if you're inside your own 30-yard line, you got to punt.
Yeah. You would assume. You would assume there's going to be some tweaks to the strategy, but Kevin Kelly
from your own 40, I don't know. Go for it.
Oh, why not? I think that's well within. I think that's exactly what he's thinking. Now, would he continue to do this in college? I don't know, but I bring up the story, but again, not because I bring it up because it's at a school in our state. And Travis hits us up on the live stream and says, I had to think I was doing this on PS3 and Madden years ago. Yeah, I mean, this is exactly what you do on PlayStation, right? Or Xbox or whatever. You don't punt. And that's what we've got here. And we can, at least at Presbyterian, yeah, you probably aren't going to be paying attention to a Presbyterian college football game on a Saturday in the fall. But in this situation, you might at least check the box score and keep a little track of it.
Am I saying that this guy was the coach at Georgetown?
I did not see that.
Head coach at Georgetown? Yeah, he was the head coach at Georgetown University for – is this the same guy?
I don't think so. I've got him at Pulaski.
There's a Kevin Kelly head coach at Georgetown. Okay.
I'm not
different guy, I guess. So are they doing this for – is this an attention hire?
It's Presbyterian. I think you're just trying to do some Presbyterian. I've been up there. I used to have to go to camps up there. I think you're just doing something to try and be innovative and hope that this new philosophy, whatever you want to call it, works. And that who knows? Who knows? It's completely outside of the box.
What conference are they in?
Let's see here. And Alex weighs in on the Cool Care Heating and Air text line. And I'm interested. He says, as a PC alum, the football team is NAIA D3, so they don't have scholarships, but I'm extremely excited to see it. I agree. Now, Alex, I'll tell you this. I didn't think PC was FCS yesterday. But it says
NAIA it's a totally different thing. They're not even in the NCAA.
We're gonna have to confirm this because the ESPN article says Kevin Kelly moves to the FCS ranks after a historic run at Pulaski Academy in Little Rock. I'm with Alex on this. I'm going with the person who's an alum and completely understands what level Presbyterian college football is at. It does list Presbyterian as being. It gave me a conference yesterday, and now I've got all the Patriot League Division I. Jason weighs in. Our own Jason.
They're not NAIA.
Says they're a member of the. See, nobody knows. This is actually awesome. I've got two PC alums weighing in. I've got an ESPN article, and nobody's matching up because the ESPN article says that Presbyterian is a member of the Pioneer League.
How's the Pioneer League baseball league?
Jason tells me they're Patriot League Division I, and I know Jason's a former basketball player there and is semi-familiar with that school. Again, Kevin Kelly. I know that not a lot of people will be out there keeping track of it, but it is an interesting story. Jason weighs in. He says autocorrect got him. Pioneer League is correct. Thank you, Jason. So Pioneer League is correct. So just something to keep track of. Basketball. They are in the basketball. In basketball, they are. Big South in basketball. Yes. So that's how that goes. 803-404-6100 if you want to weigh in on Presbyterian, the Pioneer League, or Kevin Kelly as well. So you got all kinds of stuff. So we'll continue that. Baseball coming up here in about 26 minutes. We're going to get out of here in just a minute. First pitch set for 7:00 over at Founders Park. Other things just kind of taking place. Obviously, Darlington this weekend. Patrick, you made my pick for me.
Yep.
You made my pick for me. We got Martin Truex Jr. for the weekend. Darlington's neat. Captain Dave, have you ever been to Darlington at any point in your life just to go down for the race, for the event? Okay. All right. So not too bad.
I didn't even know that Darlington was this weekend when I made your pick.
Yes. I noticed that. Patrick, have you ever even been to a race?
No.
Okay. No. So, yeah. So, but you've got Darlington
I guess
taking
I would
place.
have some interest in it, but I'll never make the effort, most likely.
I'd go for the party. I don't know. Like, I enjoy golf and the walking around and the things. I don't know if I would be into going and sitting at a racetrack for 3.5 hours. I would guess that there are people that get really into that, but I'm thinking that sitting at the racetrack would be something I couldn't do. But you got Darlington this weekend, Mother's Day coming up. PSA from all of us here at the at 107.5 The Game. Don't forget about your mother or your wife or your girlfriend, whomever it may be. Take care of them. Get them a rose, maybe a card. Patrick, you got anything planned special for the mom?
No, I mean, there's not really much I can do from here. She's 8 hours away, so I mean, she'll get a phone call. I was looking around at ideas of things that I could send over that way, but I was looking at meals, but Seamless doesn't even exist in my town, so I don't know. It's going to be a procrastination deal.
Captain Dave, we'll have to get to Stump the Dave on Monday. Well, you're not here on Monday. I was looking. I had to pull up 20 iconic guitars. Can you name Eric Clapton's iconic guitar real quick? That's why we can't play the game.
That's why he's the best.
He'd get everything right. We appreciate you listening. You've been listening to Game Time on 107.5 The Game. All right, we're out, buddy. Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, Dave.
All right, Patrick. Welcome to the afternoon. We'll do it again on Monday.
Yeah. Everybody take off work and watch the live stream on Monday.
That's right. Promote the live stream, the Game Time live stream.
All right. See everybody on the live stream.
All right. You ending it for us?
Yep.
Go ahead.